Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. Tom Pelissero reports that there is a deal in principle to send 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. In exchange for...
All right, back now with you on Total Access with breaking news out of Green Bay. We go straight to Tom Pelissero on the details of what's going on with Devontae Adams, who looks like the Raiders are acquiring him from the Packers. All right.
Hello and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast on this wonderful Wednesday, December the 7th of the year 2022.
The year of our Lord, 2022.
Sure. Absolutely. And I just want to thank all of you for joining us both live and after the fact. We have a wonderful show planned for you today with all sorts of interesting things. I do hope my mic is clear enough. I certainly project loud enough in the house here for most everyone to hear me. But I hope you guys can hear me just fine. Over to my left is Captain Jack of Captain Jack Rackham on YouTube and everywhere else you would like to find him. And Jennifer Givens in his house. We have another Chiefs fan. That's fantastic. It's always nice to have.
That's two.
That makes two or three at least.
She just loves her son. Which one is it?
Both. Well, maybe just the Chiefs fan.
Hey, mom,
I don't want to
you raised a good kid. You raised a good kid, mom.
Don't lie to her like that.
In the midst of all this, for you to say something like that means a lot.
No. This is how I ingratiate myself with people. I say good things about their offspring, and then they feed me chocolate chip cookies.
You know, it's an ulterior motive. Clearly, no ulterior motive.
Okay. Well, Mr. Gibbons, you now know why your son got complimented. Now Cap is just looking for chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, and I'll send you my address. You can just and it don't have to be like immediate mail, but within the 3 days, and it'll be within 3 days. Chocolate chip. You can also do like chocolate butterscotch. You can put like walnuts in them. I'll get with you, honey. We'll figure it out.
Where are we gone already? We're not even 5 minutes into the show.
Oh yeah. It's the rails have been removed. I don't think the rails were once there.
We're bowling with no rails here.
Yeah.
He's riding high this week, so
we also have the Alex Givens via Arrowhead Attic directly below me here in the little screen 04, and Coach Defense of the Locked Down Defense podcast, which I have to say, you can catch him and Coach Kurt Tuesdays. I know I do, and it's important that I get my digs in with Kurt. It's a Tuesday ritual at this point, and let's keep it up.
Exactly. I don't know what the show would be like if we didn't have.
Okay, Mom. At least by Christmas. At least by Christmas, okay?
And we're back.
'cause I know you probably have nothing. I know you have nothing to do between now and Christmas, right?
Just send him something from the bakery and make it seem like you did it.
Yeah.
No, I know. I will know. I will know. I know. I know, like bakery
you're Santa
stuff.
Claus. You're a connoisseur of all things baked goods. I understand. I knew you were Santa Claus.
Hey, I didn't get this from nothing, man.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Yes, DZ, I do exist in most places on the YouTube, and what you can really try to figure
He's
out
everywhere.
is how I'm able to comment on multiple videos at the same time. It's a skill. I do have that one. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to dive right in to the week that we have just had. And I think we may as well start with the only winner. Captain, take it away.
Yeah, you gotta have double thumbs up. Was it Buddy Jesus on this one for the show? And Mom, like I said, I asked and I knew what the answer was. I said, "Hey, is there a way to have like the winner on top and then like the three losers on the bottom?" But unfortunately, you can't do that. If you did a sound effect, I didn't hear it. Because I was talking over. I'll shut up. Go ahead and put it on again.
No. It passed. The moment's passed. I'm good now.
Oh,
Get up.
I'm sorry.
We'll come back.
I apologize.
It'll be applicable.
I apologize
again,
for
I
that.
imagine.
Right. You'll say something and I'll hit the button. Trust me.
Okay. Oh, good. He's queued up and ready to go, man. That's right. Okay. We did play a game, and we did. Oh, that's why Coach has sound effects queued up, because the losers down below.
You don't get to say that too often, so bask in your glory, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. And I had you queued up. I went and I even paused for effect, man. That is what you learn in the business, pause for effect. Anyway, and I will say I want to thank Coach. He was correct in that he did text me during, and I was like, whoa, I got to check that. I got to check, and Coach did, and it was like almost right after it was about what, second quarter, right?
Second quarter, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he had started immediately. I just didn't get it until the second quarter.
Yeah, you're responsible in the second quarter.
Yeah, it was a bit. And I want to make sure that you got, and it was probably subliminally, but I did have chicken wings for dinner tonight because, it's Wings Wednesday. And I think it was probably subliminally. And I'm like, aha, there was a reason why I was hungry for some wings tonight. It was because I want to thank Keenan Allen for his role in totally charging up that Raider team. Okay. He said that we were all going to be barbecue chicken, dead and just baked, for what the Chargers were going to do to us. And it looked kind of bad at the beginning when a blatant penalty was missed by the officials. Actually, it wasn't missed. It was called correctly, and then they picked the friggin' flag up. And, Coach, your thoughts on that real quick before I go into my diatribe, sir?
Which one are we talking about here?
The one that resulted in a pick six, which shouldn't have been a pick six, because it was like a headlock gone awry, but it was enough to knock Matt Collins out of his route, and it was a blatant penalty. And the pick six, which Callahan, that guy Callahan that everybody loves to throw that name out, scooped it up, or actually popped it up out of him and ran for the touchdown. And it was horrible. It was horrible.
Slot god, that's what we call him. He's the slot god. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, he's a slut. There you go. Yeah.
Slot. I didn't say slut. I said slot.
Yeah, okay. We heard it. We heard it from Coach. You called him a slut. Everybody here is.
I heard it.
That's right. He's a slut.
I heard it.
That's right.
Send this to Callahan. Yeah, look what
Coach, we have misgivings here. We need to be careful about the words we're using. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Coach. How dare you? How
what
dare you? Especially talking about wings. Okay. Anyway, But get back to point. It was a great game. It really was. It was nip and tuck. Especially the first half. It's like what 13-10 at halftime, I believe. I know it was like it was real close. And am I missing? What was that? I hope you talked about the Bengals Oscar-nominated injury. Oh, okay, yeah, we'll get to that. But it was a very close game at halftime, and I was like, this is something that I was looking for. It was just like the first game, close, and it was anybody's game. But the Raiders came out in the second half, and I need to do this more often when I'm away from my seat, getting like drinks or this case a hot dog. The Raiders scored quick. They had the fumble, and they turned it into points.
Get the glizzies.
Gotta have a high glizzy, don't you?
I need my stuff, man.
Did you dip it in your beer? No, that's what I want to know. Did you dip it in your beer?
Use it as a straw?
No, yeah. I don't drink beer. I don't drink beer. I have lemonade with a shot of Coke. So it's kind of like a sweet lemonade, Coke lemonade, and that's what I drink at the games. Because I said, here's Coke here. Here's a strawberry Palmer that I have left over. So I'm well maintained here. I don't drink other than the Grand Marnier. I drink when the Raiders screw up real bad, and I have that on.
Which I think we need a victory shot from you.
Yeah, sounds like it. That sounds like
it. He's like, wait, yeah,
right.
On cue, and Coach, sir, this is to you for a fantastic game that the Raiders had. It was a fantastic game, and for all in the house, a victory shot or a shot of sorrow, depending upon who you are, for my Raiders. There you go. Roll in.
To you, sir.
I gargled so you can see I actually had it.
This is literally a shameless Canadian thing.
Is that a whiskey?
This is a maple infused whiskey.
Yeah, it looks like a whiskey. Yeah. Okay. All right.
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, it does sound dangerous. You got a lot of it too. That's the problem. A lot of it.
It was a fantastic game, and in fact, at the very end, when it was 14 points, and then the Chargers came back with that last touchdown, it got close again, but the Raiders did what they needed to do. They shut them down, and they won by 7, but really they won by 14 because, again, that one touchdown was BS. And I'm saying BS because Alex's mom is in here, and I would never, ever want to cuss in front of Alex's mom.
She's heard worse from me. So
I was going to say, her potty mouth son has probably said worse.
Yeah.
But out of respect for Alex's mom, who's going to be making me some wonderful chocolate chip cookies, I appreciate it. It was a great game. And again, Coach, honestly, it was a pleasure hearing from you during the game. It's good hearing from all y'all.
Cap, your class act, man. Your class act.
DZ, you'll be either pleased or disappointed to know that I do not own a Newfie tuxedo. And the Newfie tuxedo, well, in Canada, we kind of make fun of the Newfoundlanders, which are on the East Coast.
Oh, Newfies, yeah.
Yeah, and so the Newfie tuxedo is a jean jacket with jeans.
Oh,
Dan.
Oh, okay.
So it's jean on jean, and I do not own one of those. And frankly, I've actually never owned a jean jacket ever in my life. So
then I guess I must be a Newfie.
Yeah. I've never had a jean jacket.
Yeah. I think I was born.
So it's December 7th here.
Right.
It's December 7th here in Canada, and I'm still wearing shorts.
That's because you're a psycho. That has nothing to do with the weather.
Yeah.
You go outside the hoodie and shorts. I know how it goes. I didn't meet you yesterday. Hoodie and shorts, 10 below. Let's go.
Oh yeah, I've done that before, right? Like lots of times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
Avatar, what was your question? That Alex didn't answer.
Avatar, I'm drinking Tank 7 Boulevard KC brewed, also like 9% alcohol. So
by volume,
really does the damage.
Shameless plug. Need a sponsorship.
Yeah, that is true. My father does rock that combo a lot. I was trying not to bring attention to that.
Is
Call
that
him
Dan?
Dan?
Hit him, Dan.
Did him Dan.
Hit him, Dan.
No.
His alter ego. Did him Dan.
Newfie Dan, right there. That's all I got to say. We'll call him Newfie Dan.
We'll call him Newfie now.
Yeah, Newfie Dan.
Wow.
Courtesy of the Wild Wild West podcast, your dad now has a new nickname, and it's as far as I'm concerned, it's official.
Yeah.
Oh, it's official. If he's been christened,
Bucket.
That's awesome. So, Coach, I am curious as to your take on what happened this weekend versus the Raiders. I did catch some of it, and I just truly felt that the Raiders just overall just outplayed the Chargers overall.
Oh, they did. I mean, 100%. I mean, we're not going to actually, tell, falsehoods here on the podcast. We're a truth-telling organization here. So, I mean, all phases, it was just a bad situation for us. And we didn't have much offense to speak of throughout the whole entire game. I believe we scored one touchdown on offense the whole game. One was a pick six, 2 field goals, and the touchdown at the end to Keelan Allen, which was a prayer of all sorts. And I kind of figured it was going to be a rough one for us because of the injuries we had going into the game. Still no Mike Williams. Corey Linsley's still in concussion protocol. So we know for sure, I've said it many times, that when Corey Linsley's not playing, the protection is terrible. And I think, and I wanted to go on a rant and browbeat Joe Lombardi, which I still might. I mean, it's not out of the question, right? But I feel like in looking back at the tape a little bit and watching the All 22 a little bit that I had this week to do it, and some cut-ups I saw on YouTube, that I have a feeling that he is ultimately calling offense in lieu of the idea that he knows his protection is bad. And I think he knows that he has to do certain things in short order because Justin Herbert can't hold the ball. So being that he knows that, I think the play calling that people are giving him a lot of, shite for, I shout out to Capt for that derivation. I think that,
the old English shite.
Yeah. So I think he's calling offense in that particular mindset rather than just calling plays that were normal flow of the game, because when you have a certain level of protection, you can count on a certain level of protection. You call plays differently. And I think that he's been calling plays on the auspice that he knows he can't run the ball, and he knows that he has short amount of window, talking 2 to 3 seconds at the high end to get the ball off. So the routes he's calling based on the down and distance a lot of times, especially on first and second down, is being criticized deeply, but I think it's a little bit of the simple fact that he knows that the protection's bad up front, and he knows that the defense knows that, and they know they're going to pressure him, with 5 or more people a lot of times. Case in point, what happened with Arizona last week, they blitzed us super heavy throughout the game. So in likeliness, the Raiders did the same thing, and what they did in turn is they had the ability, when Hobbs coming back in the game, this particular past game, they had the ability to play press man. So by playing press man and blitzing or getting pressure with 4 to 5, you will limit the ability to get open, especially third down and long situations. So that was the ultimate demise in the game. The fact that we were one-dimensional, we've been one-dimensional for the entirety of the last 8 or 9 games for sure. I harken back to the Cleveland game was the last time we ran the ball well. So that coupled with the idea that our protection was bad, and then again, you playing one-legged in a sense in a dance-off. You kind of can hedge your bet on what the outcome is going to be ultimately. Now, I give it a lot of credit for the fact that hanging in there and being able to only lose by 7, but it still cost me money because they didn't cover the spread. So whatever.
Real question is, how did Jerry Tillery do?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that. I am so glad you asked that. Why don't you tell him, Coach? Why don't you tell him how?
What did he do, Coach?
It'll be good. I'll be right here.
Like a bad when you're done. Car blew his load early in the game. Okay, he had 3 pressures at the beginning of the game, and he did nothing else after that.
Hey, that's more pressures than he ever had in
his whole life. So exactly. So y'all call me again when he does something else besides play.
Also, looks like you could take old Chandler Jones off the milk carton now too, huh?
Yeah,
true. I love this guy. He's giving me all the segues I need, man.
I'm teeing you up today.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey,
Okay, yeah, I like that. Chandler Jones is no longer on. Is that what I missed the first time?
Yes.
Or is that okay? That's different. Okay, great. Chandler Jones, 3 sacks, a TFL, and a bunch of pressures in the game. I think a fumble recovery. I might be mistaken on that, but I know he had 3 sacks and a tackle for loss, and I think he did well. But it was because of the interior of Jerry Tillery. It was Bilal Nichols. Yeah. Hey, don't make me get up and do what I did in pregame there, Coach.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. Okay.
We do.
Don't do that.
His ceiling was the game he just had. He's never going to do that again. And he didn't have a sack. He had a couple of quarterback hits. He had 1-2 tackles.
But
That was it.
He did the job of forcing the front, which allowed Chandler Jones and Max Crosby to envelope him, along with our defensive guy, actually Polamalu, had a sack because the pressure was coming from the inside, along with the safeties that were actually playing between the tackles and the ends. That's what Graham did, which was a unique thing. He had like 6 guys up front. You had the tackles in the middle. The safeties came in between the ends on the outside, and they pushed that pocket together. It was a lot of pressure. Credit Graham, credit Tillery, credit Bilal Nichols, credit Cleve Farrell, the guy that that people were bitching about for years.
Credit before I give Jerry Tillery credit. Cleve Farrell actually played pretty well because he had 2 tackles, a half a sack, and a quarterback hit. Now Chandler Jones was the player of the game. He had 5 solo tackles, 6 total, 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, a pass deflection, and 5 quarterback hits. So that's a game. That's a game.
Okay.
So I give him credit for that.
And by the way, what's the stat line for 50 Who? I noticed you're not wearing a 50 Who jersey today.
it wasn't nothing to write home about. 3 tackles, that was it.
3 assisted tackles, not even solo tackles. He was in on the assist.
Yep, three total tackles.
No sacks.
So, Coach, I do want to go back to one thing you were talking about in that game. I mean, this is an important one because it's a divisional game, so we are going to spend a little bit more time on this because obviously this is the Wild Wild West podcast. This is the whole reason why we all exist and all that good stuff. So, Coach, you were talking a little bit earlier about your offensive line and the fact ultimately that you weren't doing well on the offensive line, and we do know that there are some injuries there. Could you just, for the audience who is perhaps less familiar with the Chargers, because there's a fair number of Raiders fans in here, Broncos fans and Chiefs fans that simply just don't know the Chargers lineup in terms of what it was meant to be versus what it was. How many of your offensive linemen are currently the starters are currently not playing?
4.
And at which positions on the offensive line?
Everybody but left guard is a backup. Rashawn Slater was supposed to be the left tackle. He got hurt. Jamari Salyer is filling in for him. Matt Fowler's there. He's a starter. Will Clapp was a backup center for Corey Linsley. Zion Johnson was the right guard. He went out first quarter for Brendan Hymas. So Brendan Hymas came in for him. He tried to give it a go in the second half, but they ended up pulling him when the game got out of reach, quote unquote. So he didn't play the whole game. And Trey Pipkins was a starting right tackle. He was out. So Foster Salyer was actually I can't pronounce his last name. It's Sarrel. Sorrell. So he's the one. He's the right tackle. They got one Storm Norton, but yet again, it was a backup right tackle. So 4 out of 5 linemen were pretty much gone for the entirety of the game.
So I mean,
those are NFL players either way, though.
No, I'm not trying to make excuses. It's just it's one of the things where I don't think that most other than Chargers fans would appreciate the depth of injury that, I mean, the Broncos are really not far behind you. In fact, if we're ahead of you in terms of injuries overall.
Yeah, total.
But,
yeah.
Like total. But I think I do think
not by much though. Not by much. It's close.
No. I mean, we're talking, one injury away from like each of us kind of like competing for like the worst injury team in the NFL,
Correct.
which is really, the only thing the Broncos might actually win at this season. But in terms of looking at what your team had available and those sorts of things, I really do think it's important that context be provided. And again, you kind of skimmed over it, but it didn't go into depth, and I think it's one of those things where it's important to kind of go into some of those details.
Well, I mean, going back to the point I made in the preseason, I said that teams that don't have good tackles, and we always arguing the idea of us of not sharing about right tackle position in the beginning of the season. I said that, unequivocally, that if you don't have good tackles, it doesn't matter what your interior line does. If you don't have good tackles, you're in big trouble. Ask Tua Tagovailoa in this past weekend when the 49ers were just teeing off on him and making him, look, quite mediocre because his tackles weren't there. But think about the success he had when the tackles were playing. So when we have healthy tackles, just like anybody else, it's a different ballgame. So, I think that is very important to note, no matter who you are.
Well, Chiefs have healthy tackles.
I kind of disagree with that a little bit. I disagree with that a little bit. In my opinion, I think the tackles are an important position, and I think they're only super important when you end up with elite competition at the edge position. And the reason why I say that is it's like the longest road to the quarterback to go around the tackles or through the tackles to get to the quarterback.
Depending on how good the tackle is.
But Alex, that's very much my point, right? Which is, most tackles are at least a bigger body that has some athleticism to them. So they're going to slow down the vast majority of even the best outside linebackers or defensive ends that are kind of playing to the outside edge there. And ultimately, if you can get 2 seconds or so to throw the ball, the top tier quarterbacks can find a way to make that throw a successful one.
We also have to factor in. You also have to factor in the level by which the pressure comes from. Majority of the pressure comes off the edge. So
traditionally speaking, left tackle is the most important position on the offensive line.
Like, you don't have a good left tackle, you don't have any.
No, but but what you're talking about, and I think that my comment may be being missed, is if you have poor left tackle and right tackle, then you're probably getting a second to a second and a half to throw the ball.
Not long.
Yeah.
Which is not a long time.
If that.
Right. No, yeah, right. And then, but my point is that if you have good interior offensive line, then they can keep the interior of the D line at bay, which may add to that by half a second or a second, even if your tackles are collapsing. And if these quarterbacks can step up into the pocket with solid interior offensive line play to help combat against poor outside like tackle play, then I think that makes a bit of a difference. Now, if you have like what the Chargers had, which was bad all around, then you're just done.
Sure. What you got, Cap?
I wanted to.
He's like, wait,
you guys
call me?
It.
You can see me,
right?
No, you guys can't see it because it's only in my YouTube. Is that Stuart Weigert would like to voice some insight into this conversation, but since this is an MHRT produced show, I would not just arbitrarily just give him the link for a quick moment about talking about the Raiders and Chargers without the permission of the entire crew. Stu, I saw what you. This is this guy's show with it. I'd love to have it come on, but I'd like to make guys real quick because Stuart would probably give a Raider view from a professional who did play the game after we are done talking about the game for a little bit.
Where's Stu at? I don't see him anywhere in the chat.
Well, yeah, he's in my chat. Stuart, say something. There you go.
There, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, see who gave.
Okay.
Right. So there.
So forgive my ignorance. What's Stewart's affiliation with the Raiders?
You don't know who Stuart Schweigert is?
No.
Should I Google him?
Coach, do you know who Stuart Schweigert is? Alex, do you know who Stuart Schweigert is?
Of course.
No. If you don't know, Stuart Schweigert was a great safety out of Purdue University. It played in the I think,
Boiler
80s
up,
and
baby.
90s. Okay.
Well, tell you what, Captain, if Stuart would like to come in to give us some insight in terms of
Oh,
some
there
of
he
the
is.
discussion points. And Stuart, I appreciate you joining the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a former player, if nothing else, it validates the quality of the content we're putting out overall. If you'd like to come in and give your insight in terms of some of the comments that we've been making today, I'm happy to have Captain forward you the link to get you in here, even on the fly here, to get some of your insight. So, Captain, you have the link I sent to you in an email.
Yeah.
Feel free to get that over to Stuart, and we'll bring him in.
I got the StreamYard link. I will send it to Stuart. Stuart, check your IG, and I'll send it to you on IG, partner.
And just in the meantime, as Stuart gets that link, let's quickly discuss the Chiefs and Bengals game. Because I have very little that I want to talk about the Ravens and Broncos game, because I would prefer to forget it. Alex, I guess your mom was referring to what we'll call the wounded tiger moment.
Right.
I will take credit, because I just kind of came up at that on the fly. But if you want to go ahead and go into your game a little bit, we'll bring in Stu to talk about the division battle there.
Yeah.
Because I love getting input like this from former pros. MHRT Network has had several Broncos players on over the last 5-6 months. Love getting input from professional players that have a unique insight into the game.
I could definitely gloss through this game, because it was a very unforgettable one. But I think you saw in this game, they didn't really overly shoot themselves in the foot all that much.
Dear Stuart,
what's going on?
Oh, just checking out Stuart's YouTube page, my boy.
Oh, Chiefs, KC, over generally speaking, didn't really shoot themselves in the foot all that much. I think what became pretty apparent is, in games like this, especially at the end, going for the field goal and then needing to stop, and they just, got what they needed to get every time. I think that this is the most apparent thing from the game, is the clear lack of serious investment in pass rushing, specifically edge rushing. And then he got to a point where Burrow kind of could he knew where his spots were going to be. He had the time to do it. He wasn't overly pressured. So it just kind of came down. I mean, they were in it. Bengals are a hot team. They're getting good at the right time, kind of like they did last year. They're definitely going to make noise in the playoffs. They were right there. Just did not get it done when they needed to. There were some questionable things, like the Oscar performance my mother alluded to, when the Chiefs got down into pretty much, I think, 4-yard line, and was it Jesse Bates or the safety? That happens all the time, but it was pretty egregious with him. He's just like, oh yeah, wait, someone needs to lay down. And he dropped. But the biggest thing that pissed me off, there's a lot of people bitching about calls and missed calls, and the Kelsey fumble, that was the only thing I thought was kind of a little much, just because they it's like other players, they would blow that dead, call it forward momentum and call it good, but then they let the linebacker just get 8 chances to rip the ball out of Kelsey's hands. But at the end of the day, that didn't really impact it. The Chiefs, for as bad as the Bengals offensive line has been, objectively speaking, through the whole season, didn't get really much of any pressure on Burrow, and he was able to do what he needed to do at the end of the game. So I think it was kind of a wake-up call they needed, that they're not, they need to play better against better teams. They can't just kind of rest on their laurels and be in it. But they were in it at the end, and if Harrison Butker makes a field goal, it's tied, and Burrow's got to drive down the field to win. Probably still would have gotten in the field goal range with how their last drive went, but it is what it is. We are on to Denver, so at least the last half of the Chiefs schedule here looks pretty favorable. Extra benefit that the Chargers went ahead and lost. So they're still 3 games up in the AFC West.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Still very much, a top dog in the AFC. It's when you're that successful at a decent stretch of time, people want to see you lose. So everyone, of course, was loving it up, but they'll be fine in the long run.
I think there's ultimately the Bengals are well suited to combat what the current iteration of the Chiefs have to offer.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree. I mean, he didn't have the full crux of receivers out there. I think if they had one other, if McCole or Tony was out there, I think that might have changed things a little bit. Because, I mean, I don't get it. I think they're just they're just a sound disciplined defense. Because, I mean, you look at them on paper and you wouldn't think they'd be that good, but somehow they are. But I think that kind of hindered KC a little bit and what they could do, and not having, the 2 speedsters in Tony or Hardman. Just had Juju, who kind of got banged up as the game went on, and MVS. And I think that you saw that kind of impact things, later on as the game went on. That I'd say, looking at how they played them last year, they definitely made more of an emphasis to run the ball and keep possession. So that was good, at least, because that was my sole reason I thought they lost to them in the championship game, was not having, not trying to keep possession and not really, not taking what they're giving them. There was other times too where you watch Mahomes and he didn't take what the defense gave him because he was trying to go for home runs. He had the Superman dive into the end zone, whatever. But you got, like, prime example on the third, right before, where they kicked the field goal, maybe 2 minutes left in the game or a little under, 4th and 1, or it's 3rd and 1. And Mahomes tries to throw it deep instead of looking at McKinnon in the flat, who is wide open, first down, and then you're moving it. And, obviously hindsight, you look back and you see those things. You don't know what he's looking at. There was missed, like the time he got sacked, kind of scrambling around. If he had just 0.2 more seconds, he had Juju wide open for a touchdown. So just a couple missed opportunities. But, like I said, the Bengals are a good team. They were in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, for as unathletic and just flashy as he is, he's a good QB. So,
which probably isn't much, but we'll let him live.
I just don't get it. I don't understand how he just gets everything. Just everything goes his way all the time.
I'll tell you one thing. Joe Burrow is unafraid.
Guys, I do want to get Stuart in here before we get into the week ahead. I just want to thank Stuart for, frankly, taking the time and coming in here. I love the additional insight. Stuart, I'm going to bring you in. Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me. I apologize. I guess I didn't realize this was.
I had to give you a proper open. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I saw Captain on, and I went in, and I didn't realize this was a little bit more of a serious deal here. So I apologize for just kind of intruding.
Big leagues, man.
Yeah, I apologize for just intruding on here. So sorry about that.
You have nothing
Stuart,
to say about
I did ask on your behalf because, I thought having a professional football player of your stature. Still, even though you gentlemen need to know who Stuart Schweigert is. So
I read up already. 04 to 08.
Okay.
I felt bad when everyone's going, no, I don't know who the hell this guy is. So
no,
that's all right. That's all right.
Just so that you know, you and I are probably the closest in age out of anyone here on the podcast. Sadly, I was not as much into football when you were playing as I am now.
So are you in Canada then?
I am very much north of the border, and I'm not
Okay.
just in Canada.
My
I'm
wife-
not just in
my
Canada.
wife-
I'm
my
in
wife's
northern
from-
Canada.
My wife's from Toronto.
Yeah, so I'm about 3 hours north of where she's from.
Wasaga Beach area then?
Jeez, I don't hear people know where I'm actually from, but I'm right near Wasaga Beach, man.
Yes. All right. Good. All right.
I am so your wife will actually know this. I'm quite literally about a 5-minute walk to Lake Simcoe.
Okay. Yes. Yep.
Which is the best perch fishing probably anywhere in the world.
Yeah. See, I'm actually from Michigan. I grew up in Saginaw, Michigan. And I'm not a big fisherman, so I apologize for not knowing anything about. I mean, I know a little bit about salmon. I like to cook salmon.
Perch are a relative of the walleye family.
Okay.
Which most people know.
And the walleye are very. Don't they have the big underbite with the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're fantastic eating. Lake Simcoe is so rich in perch that there is a 10 fish limit every day. And so, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, don't lie, Richie. Willie Wayne knows what you were doing.
We know the truth.
He knows.
How long have you guys had this AFC West little group here?
The entire year.
The entire year, man.
Yeah, pretty much. Since April, we kicked it off in April.
Well, I apologize for not knowing that. Captain doesn't tell me anything, so I don't know what I'm just.
Oh yes, see, now it's my fault. Okay.
When in doubt, default.
You can't blame the Raider royalty. You got to blame the fan.
Well, now I see. Are you a top right? What's your name? I apologize.
Coach Defense.
That's Coach. Yeah, I'm Coach Defense. Chargers fan.
Okay.
That is my
Lakers fan. Lakers fan.
Lakers fan as well. Yes, sir.
All right. Darvin Ham is from Saginaw, where I'm from.
He is. Yeah. He absolutely is. Yep.
He went to Bridgeport High School, which is a smaller high school in the Saginaw County area. So,
yes, indeed.
His son Darvin Ham Jr. played on my rec basketball team a couple years ago.
Nice.
When I used to live in Michigan. So
he dunked like that.
They weren't allowed to dunk in the league. So I think he's coaching with his dad now. I think he's down. I think he's in LA. Yeah, coaching with his dad, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay. I have to check that out. But yeah.
Stu, your professional insight as to what you saw this weekend of anything, because I know you're busy with your missus and all. Because we want to get a professional's view so that people know that we're not just blowing smoke up everybody's, but we have an intelligent view, but we want to hear it from the pro.
Well, I will say that I was happy to see Chandler Jones finally did something for that $32 million guaranteed contract. So I think he had 2 sacks in this game?
Three.
Okay.
Yep. 3.
So that's usually how I guess he kind of does things in bunches, right? I mean, I know last year he had that. That's pretty much why they signed him, having that Tennessee game with those 5 sacks. But so it was good to see him. It was good to see Harmon come up and force that fumble on that play, along with Hobbs coming up. I think Hobbs made the fumble recovery, if I'm not mistaken. Did he not, or no?
Yes, he did.
Well,
okay.
It was either Hobbs or Jones. I knew it was somebody that I had an eye on. I know it wasn't Jerry Tillery, but I will just say that for Coach, because Coach's favorite person on the Raiders is Jerry Tillery.
Yeah, right.
Who is this? I don't even know who that is.
Say it again. Who is that guy? He don't know who he is either. Exactly.
He's a nose tackle, D tackle that came from the Chargers that was signed as a waiver wire acquisition.
When was this? When did they sign him?
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. And by the way, Stu, he's from your favorite university, the University of Notre Dame.
Okay, well, I mean, shit. I mean, he's part of the Raiders, so even though he's from Notre Dame, that's okay. That's all right. I will say that obviously Devontae Adams had a phenomenal game, and I want to know this: why in the hell number 7 Kansas City, the Chargers tight end? Why is he mushing guys all over the freaking place, man? And no one's doing anything. Cap, we have these safeties coming up, and number 7's just mushing them on the sidelines, doing this and talking a bunch of shit, talking a bunch of crap, and none of the Raiders players are doing anything.
Don't worry, Caps let that 4-letter word slip all the time, so it's
I
no big deal.
apologize, guys.
No, that's not true. I haven't let it slip in a couple of
Not
weeks.
not today,
Not
but you have.
today.
Yeah, that's
Not today.
not today, but overly speaking.
Let you lose this week. I'm sure. I'm guaranteed the over under on F-bombs is about 4.
Oh yeah.
I try to keep this clean as well, like on my show, Stu.
So it sounds like Tillery had a pretty decent game then, if I'm not mistaken here with the comments in the second here, 8 pressures.
They're just here to bust my chops, dude. There's nothing about him doing anything.
No, he balled. He balled.
Well, actually, hold on.
He balled out.
He's Hall of Fame.
Coach, we have an NFL caliber safety on the show. Let's throw over to Stuart and let's get his feedback on this. Stuart, given skill sets at various positions, would it not be a fair comment to make that as a player, you have the ability to excel or not based on the coach and the system?
100% correct. Absolutely.
Right. So as an example, if you were to be with the Raiders who had a system that fit your skill sets, you could be seen as a superstar or a stud at the various positions you were at, right?
Yes, it's all about situation and really about timing and getting put into the right system with the right coaches. Right. Absolutely, yes.
Right. So, I mean, coming from Canada, I actually was a national rugby recruit.
Okay.
And sadly, we don't believe in football here in Canada. Otherwise, I would have.
Well, no, you guys are actually you guys are. I mean, there's some decent football players that are coming from Canada.
Yeah, you got to remember though, I'm your age.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Yes.
And everything is relative based on timing.
You're absolutely correct. Yes.
Right. So
I'm archaic old. I'm like, Nostradamus old.
Last Supper old. Yeah, we know.
So Stuart, my great grandfather actually was a Hamilton Tiger Cat before they were the Tiger Cats.
Okay.
So I know you know who they are because your wife is from
absolutely
kind of this neck of the woods.
Yep.
He was a leatherhead. My whole family has come up believing that hitting people at full speed without pads is a rite of passage.
Here we go. Look, you got Capt started. There it is.
That's just kind of our deal. Yeah, that's exactly right, Captain.
High school helmet.
Okay.
I can't believe they let you keep that after senior year. That's so nice.
That was a parting gift. They didn't give you a leather jacket; they gave you a helmet.
I stuck it out.
Well, he had to wear it. It was a dual purpose helmet, football and class.
Yeah, I'm going to say his bus pass. They retired his seat on the bus.
Right. So, I mean, Stuart, your comment and response is kind of very telling and very much fits into, I think, what a lot of casual fans don't fully appreciate, that you can have a truly gifted NFL player that gets put in a position that puts them in positions that do not highlight their skill sets.
Yes.
That's nice.
And
I think that a follow-up question to that. I want to ask Stuart to follow up question to that.
Go ahead.
So, and speaking in terms of scheme fit and situations when it comes down to football, right, Stu?
Yes, sir.
If you're touted as a interior 4-3 D lineman when you come into the NFL, right? That's your moniker when you come in, right?
Okay.
You're touted as a 4-3 interior D lineman. They run multiple sets of 4-3 in your first 3 years, and you have no inkling of success, right?
Yes.
They move you around. They put you in a 3-tech. They put you in a 1-tech. They even put you on the end to see where you could flourish as a pass rusher, because there's never been inkling of being a good run stopper in the league as well.
Okay.
So do all that, and you have no inkling of meteoric rise in those 3 years. Then they switch this entire scheme and move to more of a 3-4 hybrid and move you to a defensive end position,
which is completely stupid. But yeah,
it's contrarian, yes. But understand that they did both of those options with this guy, and he had no levels of success in 3.5 to 4 years of being on a team, right? So similar to that, if you were a box safety in college and they wanted you to play deep third in college, you wouldn't necessarily be, it almost be like a fish out of water in a sense, right?
Yeah, and I will say this, for whatever reason, the NFL loves to take guys that never played a position and put them at a position that the defensive coordinator, or all of a sudden they want to. Well, you know what? Let me take this defensive end that has his hand in the ground, and let's move him to
The standard position, to an edge rushing position, right?
Or not even that. Just put him as an outside linebacker and have him guarding tight ends and slot receivers.
Playing in space. Yeah, exactly. So my point, I bring this up to say that I feel like they've given Jerry Tillery an apropos opportunity to be successful, and they move them around. They try to get any and everything out of this guy as far as production is concerned, and putting him in every place on the field that they possibly can, outside of covering space, like you alluded to, and allowed him to be successful as a first-round pick. And he had no discernible success.
What year is Tillery?
He's in his fourth year.
Okay.
Fourth year. So
where's he from? What college?
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
Sorry, guys. Yeah,
that's right.
No, that's why he's bad.
So should I be confident at all as an NFL coach that he will have any level of success up to this point? Should I have any confidence in that?
Say that.
Should I have any, based upon what I just laid out for you? Should I have any confidence in the idea that he's going to be productive as an NFL player and give him those opportunities to be successful, and he has not yet at this point?
I mean, I guess it all depends on how many or what coaches want to give him how many chances, or who. Some players have a little bit more time to prove themselves than other players do, for whatever reason. Whether that's because, again, he was a first-round pick and a general manager, if he's gonna, if he had a bad pick with this guy and all of a sudden there's really no way he can replace him, because if he replaces him with another player, he's going to look stupid as a general manager. So I guess I guess it's case to case, really. I mean, depending on who the player is, who the organization is, who the head coach is, who the general manager is, what situation the team's in. I mean, there's a lot of factors that I guess I go into it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this: What do you want me to say?
I don't want you to say anything. I just wanted to get your opinion on it, really.
Okay.
As a former professional athlete, I'm a collegiate athlete and a former coach, right? So I was just trying to get your perspective.
Where'd you play at?
I played at HBCU at Bowie State University.
Okay. You said inside linebacker?
Inside linebacker, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
So I was just trying to get your...
I always say this: any athlete that it's hard to play a varsity sport in high school and be good at it. So any player that can be productive in high school I always say this too. I had a training business for I think 6 or 7 years, impact training. And I always say that the worst Division III school has some of the world's best athletes on those teams, and along with some of the greatest coaches as well. So anytime that you can be successful at any level in sports, I give everybody credit. So credit to you. That's awesome to hear.
Appreciate that. And congrats on all your success as well.
Hey, I did too, man. But hey, whatever.
all you got. I mean, anyone. We have the rugby player right here, right?
Yeah, I just played in
a linebacker in Santa. That's what we got. We got rugby players.
No, it's Santa.
Let me. To Kansas City. Obviously, you have one of my closest friends, or not one of my closest friends, but a player whose actually girlfriend lived right across the street from me, George Karloftis.
Okay.
So what are your assessments of him for his rookie season?
Oh, I love him, man. He's got great motor. Always back there. You haven't seen the sack numbers you would have thought with kind of where he's grading out in terms of pressure and everything else, but very much been as advertised where they picked him, and I was excited when they got him. I didn't think he'd fall that far, but I mean, I think he's coming around pretty well. And honestly, I don't know if he's he can be the guy in terms of being the you're like your Max Crosby to your Chandler Jones, but I think if the Chiefs find someone this offseason, whether it be in the draft or some other addition, I think you see him kind of have an even more of an uptick next year when he has someone outside of Frank Clark also trying to get to the QB. That kind of free up some more opportunities for him.
How would you compare him? How would you compare him to a guy like Jared Allen?
They play pretty similar in terms of physicality and how they use their hands, but they have to do that because they were both mammoth human beings that weren't known for, didn't run a 4.4. They weren't clownies. Yeah. Both he's the way he uses his hands are, pretty impressive how lethal he is with those things, just like Jared Allen. Jared Allen just at least back then could finish more, it at least seems. But I also think part of that is just the game today. Hell, you like breathe on TV, you might get a personal, roughing the passer. So I think internally some players are a little more hesitant with their twitch than they used to be. But I love Karlaftis.
Let me ask you guys this question. My last year in the professional football era was 2012. So I would say that kind of during my era was kind of the last era of being able to actually hit people, right? For offensive players, now, I've got to believe it's a lot easier for receivers and tight ends and running backs to know that if I'm not looking at somebody, they can't hit me. And then a quarterback knowing that no one can come and, dive at his legs, or, if he throws it, at the same time someone's coming and hitting them. I remember quarterbacks, especially if they threw an interception, that's the first guy you go up and freaking
yeah. The quarterback would definitely get
quarterback
hit.
And the lineman.
Oh, definitely.
There's a lineman I can ear hole.
There you go. Yep.
So would you guys kind of agree with?
Absolutely.
It's hard to judge. I think it's hard to judge defensive players nowadays because
it is. You're right. Absolutely.
I don't know. Especially coming up. The biggest thing I see is coming up on the sideline. They just kind of and back in my day, I'm not old, but when a guy's running when a guy's running down the sideline, there's no going out of bounds, man. You better come up and you better do something because that guy's either going to put his head down. And also too, back then the running backs used to be able to. There wasn't a penalty to grab your face mask,
right?
And kind of throw you down.
The one that gets me is the roughing the passer when the D linemen are just pass rusher in general puts all their weight on them when they land.
That's
that's literally how you were taught. That's how you're taught. You wrap and follow through, right? That's it.
Tackling coaching that you gave me all this time. I'm not supposed to use that when I was a quarterback. That makes no sense.
That's the one that gets me.
Fatso rule. Okay.
Well, and it's such a subjective assessment, right? Because you could have one ref look at it no, and then you have another one.
And that's where it gets wrong at. Yeah, I know
that's the thing that really concerns me is how much authority these officials have. They can dictate a lot of stuff, man.
A lot of those penalties are game changers too. We're talking 50-yard penalties and drives and things of that nature.
Can they?
Stuart,
I know in college.
You actually called this out.
Sorry, Rich. Sorry,
I agree. Rich. I agree. So what you're hinting at right here is exactly what I've been saying for a good number of years. Is part of the problem what you're referring to is the NFL not stepping in to crack down on refs from doing things that truly define the outcome of a game. And there's almost absolute power in that position on the field. Yes. And I think that is they've started to insert things like, New York reviewing the play.
Yeah. Do you guys, I don't feel like that doesn't make me feel any better. Those guys.
No, it doesn't.
No. And let me interject in terms of where I was going with that. I think as a fan, what I want is if you're having New York intervene on a play, I would like to see the New York call called out on screen as an NFL fan, so that I can then interact with the NFL in some way, shape, or form as a fan of football to say, what the heck are you talking about, man? That's crap. Like your rules state this. I saw this. Justify your position. And I think that the NFL would greatly benefit from a more positive feedback loop from fans.
Get that off, Cap. Come on now.
I actually think that the NFL would benefit from fans like
close the year.
I actually think the NFL would benefit from fans like myself. I consider myself a bit of a fanalist where I actually review game film. I look at the all 22.
I do too. I do. Yeah.
I'm on Captain's show a fair amount. I do pay attention to my divisional rivals, and I know a lot of the X's and O's in football. And there's a whack of crap that I'm seeing from these refs that I'm looking at saying the rules don't support your decision. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I know for us, and Cap can agree with me. During my time with the Raiders, man, like we were like always above and like penalties. And yeah, we had guys that did some dumb stuff, but I swear then the referees were completely tripping. And I mean, they're offensive pass interference back when Randy, like I'm thinking when Randy Moss barely touches, I don't know if Givens, when did how you look like a younger guy. How old are you?
I'm 30.
You're 30. Okay. So when did you start watching Kansas City?
I mean, like as early as I can remember. I remember 2004, man. 2003, they were 9-0. Lost to the Bengals, Ocho Cinco, guaranteed the win.
Well, I know in 2005 in Oakland, I just remember it was the first time I had ever seen offensive pass interference called, and I'm looking at it going, I've never even. I know for certain if. Oh God, who was a receiver for Denver, number 15?
Marshall.
Yeah. If he were to touch and push off on Charles Woodson, they wouldn't call anything.
No call.
Yeah, no call. And it looked for a while there like the Raiders were just getting calls because the NFL was mad at Al Davis, So forgive me, I'm not sure why I started having that conversation there, but anyways, yeah. So
shitty officiating.
And then I think kind of too, when you have that notoriety, we'll call it, of being a penalty heavy team, then you don't get some stuff to go your way. Or if it's a 50-50, they're gonna be like, well, it's the Raiders.
Right.
So let's call it.
I will say this though, I don't believe that happens now. Do you, Cap? I don't think that
No, actually, and thank you for that great segue, Stu, because we're going to be talking about how the NFL referees can actually play with a game when we do NFL Nation Live at 9 o'clock on my channel.
Plug every week. He finds a way to
plug.
do it.
The humble plug is here.
Ain't no humble.
Yeah,
It's shameless.
hey, if you're giving me the segue, man, I'm going to take it. But to answer to your question there, Stu. And the answer is still this. There are referees, and Ref Guru has even said it, that they will even have meetings about, well, there are Raider rules, and that they don't discount your crappy performance on a Raider game because it's expected at a Raider game. And that is the truth. That is not biased. That is not hearsay. That is the truth. That is the truth. And you guys even heard about it, was it 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago, when the guy was on camera and was talking, one of the white hat was talking to his guy, said, I know what you saw, but we're not going to call that. And that was on camera and on microphone. That is the way the referees can really influence games. And it's unfortunate. It is true. And it's not
I always wonder this too. I always wonder why sometimes some reviews Because do they have a timer? Is there like a certain?
No, they don't. That's unfortunate.
Okay.
They do not.
Because sometimes I'm sitting here looking and going, this is not really that necessary of a to take up this much time. So then I'm wondering, who are they calling? Who in Vegas are
New
they
York.
going to see?
No,
what,
New York.
They're
Yeah.
checking the betting line.
Like
when I say Vegas, I mean like the betting lines. Like
yeah.
They're checking the spread. I agree with you.
Hey,
Spread.
what decision do we make on this call to pick the outcome that so and so or whoever?
Right. Is your same game parlay?
Like that Buffalo Wild Wings commercial.
Because I've seen it. I've seen it where
that goes to my comment about transparency, right? As a fan, if the call was transparently announced within the game in terms of did that come from New York or did that come from the on-field refs, I think that there would be a little bit more scrutiny available to us as fans looking at it saying, hey, that had more of an outcome on the game from the reffing crew versus New York. And frankly, there would be a lot less ability to hide to your point, was that a Vegas line? Was that something that they wanted to try to push? Was that a this or that or the other thing? As fans, you're left in the dark and it seems intentional.
Yeah. Do what they do with Gene's territory. They had Gene's territory in the booth. Let them pan off to the people in New York and say, hey, what is your call on this? And let them verbalize it. So we see exactly what they're telling the refs on the field. So we know exactly what the calls are.
Right. But that's a transparency
thing.
Thing
about Mr. Index Card, who did that as a joke. He did that as a joke. He pulled it out. And if you ever know, look at the replay. And this is the truth. This is facts. This is not BS. If you look at that game, that pole was not at a 90-degree angle. It was at an 87-degree angle the other way. That's why it wasn't a first down. I'm telling you guys this. I saw it and everybody else saw it. And he had a smile on his face when he put that friggin' index card as a joke, by the way, which is I hear from referee sources, not Ref Guru, but Ref Guru heard from referee. He pulled that index card out as a joke. As a joke.
How long do these crews know before the game that they have a game?
I see scheduled to bring it out the week before. Like they know
at least 3 to 4 days. Right?
At least I think the Sunday,
the
Monday after games, they get their next schedule. Yeah, the Monday.
Right.
So at least 4.
The guys who know who they're playing. Obviously, the guys who are working Thursday are the ones that get the first notice because they got to go from Sunday to Thursday. They're the first guys that know. But pretty much, I think, and I believe, and if you watch that show Monday to Tuesday, people know on Tuesday who is working which crew for which game Tuesday night late.
So, Coach, I want to, Captain, rather, while we have Stuart on the show, I wonder if this is a great opportunity. I love Stuart's opinion on your Rams game coming up this week. We have our 3 points. We have our 3-point stance coming up that we can perhaps get Stuart's input on as well. Do you want to throw over to that and kind of get some insight from a Raiders safety, a former Raiders safety, in terms of what's going on and that sort of thing? Because I think that would be a really unique insight for this show and our fans.
And that's why I asked if we can bring Stu on. And what do they say in Congress where I give back all my time to the next Congress
for rebuttal?
Reclaiming
you're saving for rebuttal.
Reclaiming
no. So I'll be
right back.
Okay, that's fine, Stu. It's like I give up my time, or I yield. I yield my time. There you go. I knew what we were talking about. I yield my time to the senator from the University of Purdue who played safety when the time comes. He will do the rebuttal for whoever is doing the Rams fan once he gets back from the head. Hey, little Stu. How you doing, brother?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, bud.
There you go.
Got a football?
Yeah, aren't you supposed to be now within 10
I don't know if you know this, but your dad's talking to someone from Canada, a different country, and he ran away.
There you go.
There you go.
You're
It was weird. It was weird.
Canada ran.
You heard Canada and ran away. I don't blame you. It's cold here.
He's gonna say hi and then he's going to bed. Come here, buddy. Come say hi. This is Alex. This is
Alex.
my
I'm
third
also
child.
Alex.
I have
Alex, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
Fantastic. Hey.
We are very big Predator fans, so we love coming downstairs and watching the Predator, huh, buddy? Yep. And then I always ask him, "Are you going to be bigger than Dad? Are you going to be tougher than Dad? Are you going to be faster than Dad?" All right, here we go. Well, say bye, all right, buddy?
Yeah.
Bye,
Alex, it's
Alex.
time for bed, buddy. Go to bed.
My football away and I'm out of here, bud.
That's right.
Hey, that's a good 3-cone drill. Keep it up.
Good job. Next agility.
He's only 5 now. He's turned 5.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Stuart, I'm going to throw over to the second half of our show, and I'm going to start with the Raiders stuff. Raiders are obviously facing the Rams coming up. The Rams are not really the Rams of old, if you will, in the last couple seasons. We're going to bring in the Rams Up podcast to talk about what the Rams need to do to beat the Raiders. I'd love your insight on it if you're willing to stick with us for a couple extra minutes.
Yeah,
here.
no, I'd love to. No, yeah.
Fantastic. We're going to throw over to that real quick, and we'll get right back to this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 3-point stance from the Rams Up podcast. Let's go.
Hey everybody, Mark from Rams Up here. Our podcast is part of the Pigskin Podcast Network. We also have a YouTube channel. Our handle is at LA Rams Up. And I'm going to try to tell you what 3 things my Rams need to do to beat the Raiders. And this has been a bit of a season from hell for the Rams. If you're a Ram fan, just so used to watching this offense produce incredible results week in and week out, and it's not happening this year with all the guys up front hurt. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp out, and Aaron Donald will miss this game as well. But still, there is hope, and I'll go through the 3 things. The first thing I think they need to do, I'm going to start with the defense. As inept as our offense has been, our defense needs to step up, especially in the red zone. Our strategy has been bend, don't break, allow opposing offenses to move down the field, to chew up the clock. Don't give up any chunk plays and force field goals. And that's what they're going to need to do against the Raiders. They're going to have to keep Devontae Adams in check. Don't let them have any big plays. And when the Raiders do get into the red zone, and they will, they'll have their chances. The Rams got to force field goals as much as possible. If the Raiders put up, I would say 24 points, they probably win this game. So the Rams have to force field goals. The second thing I think they need to do, we saw last week some improvement in the run game, and that will hopefully continue against the Raiders. Starting to get some starters back on the offensive line. We have our starting center, right guard, and right tackle playing now, along with 2 backups on the left side. And Cam Akers was pretty productive, as was Kyron Williams. But of course, that was against the Seahawks, who have one of the worst run defenses in the league. But we're going to have to run the ball because we really don't have a competent quarterback at this point. John Wolford, Bryce Perkins, and Case Cooker on the practice squad that could get pulled up. I don't even know who the starter is going to be, but John Wolford is a somewhat accurate quarterback with a fairly weak arm and gets the ball out late. Bryce Perkins is a threat with his legs, not so much with the arm as much as you would like him to be anyways. In Case Cookus, I have no idea. Supposedly has a good arm. So we need to get the run game going because we really aren't going to, we just don't have a really quarterback at this point. Although there has been rumors they could put in a claim for Baker Mayfield. Not sure he would start Thursday night even if he was on the roster. And the last thing we got to do is be creative on offense, and we saw that last week. Keep an eye out for Brandon Powell and Tutu Atwell. jet sweeps, end arounds, quick passes. Those guys are dynamite with the ball in their hand. Sean McVay has not incorporated them in the offense as much as you would hope until last week. Maybe having so many guys out forced his hand, and Cooper Kupp, who's a really good deep threat, had a chance for a big touchdown against Seattle, but Wolford's throw came up about 10 yards short. And Powell and Atwell, those guys with the ball in their hands, keep an eye out for them. Rams have to find ways to get them the ball. And if Bryce Perkins is the quarterback, I think he can add to that creativity. RPO plays, quick handoffs to Atwell and Powell, and running the ball himself. We have to get the run game going, and that's going to have to be by being creative in the run game and the pass game. So those are the three things: force field goals, establish the run. That's, everybody always says that, but in this case it's even more true because our passing game is so bad. And be creative. We have to be creative to move the ball. And those are the three things. If I would add a fourth thing, we need one big play by somebody. We are just lacking in big plays, big takeaways, pick sixes, big sacks, strip sacks. Just hasn't been happening for the Rams. And as inept as this team has been on offense, we need some help. We need a big play like that to get a W against the Raiders, I think. That's all I got. Mark from Rams Up. Those are my three keys to victory for my Los Angeles Rams.
Dude,
The sign of a
little different spice.
Hold on. The sign of a true
Chairman,
professional. Go
I
ahead.
yield all my time to the great safety from Saginaw, Michigan, and Purdue University, Mr. Stuart Schweigert. Mr. Schweigert, your rebuttal, please, sir.
I agree. I do want to just make a quick note. In the background, you guys couldn't see this because we see each of our videos, even when that video is playing for all of our viewers live. And again, I want to thank Rams Up for joining us and giving us the 3 points for the Rams versus the Raiders game. I really do appreciate the Rams Up podcast for being our Rams just wealth of information for this particular season. Stuart, I do want to call out, this is the sign of a true professional. There was notes being taken in the background. This is not me calling you out. This is me effectively just showing the difference between a true professional versus a fanalist like myself. Now, I will say I have a memory like an elephant, so I guess I have that going in my favor. But
please help me with that then, because my memory is not the best. Trust me.
Go ahead.
That's why I'm writing there. That's why I have to write everything down.
That's fine. I do want to hear your feedback and in terms of what you believe the Raiders need to do against the Los Angeles Rams based on what you just heard from Rams Up. And he is super, super plugged in to the Rams. He is present for most pressers.
Well, the thing that I was looking at is he talked about the Raiders, need to stop if the Rams have any chance of doing anything, I guess, because their passing game, I guess, is null and void. But he talked about the running game, and so I'm like, all right, well, let me see what the Raiders' running defense is. And the Raiders' running defense is number 24th in the NFL. And I looked at the Rams' run offense.
We got to be 32.
And they're 24 in the NFL. And then I go back to the Raiders and I look at their passing defense, 24th in the NFL. And then I look at the Rams' passing offense. Sorry, the Rams' rushing offense is 25th in the NFL. And then the passing is also 25th. So I'm looking here going, okay, so the Raiders are 24th.
So did you say the rushing offense is only 24th or 25th?
I don't know how.
I have a hard time believing that.
I'm looking at NFL.com.
I mean, that's been a revolving door.
Really?
Well, Cam Akers, they cut Henderson with the other
Right.
guy, Williams.
Kyron Williams.
They have no offensive line.
No, but I mean, I have a hard time believing that.
No, hold on. Forgive me. Let me see exactly what they are. So you can pick attempts, rushing yards. I guess here's always my question too: is if you guys were to look at a team and you look at how does their passing offense rank, what are you looking at? Are you looking at receiving touchdowns? Are you looking at receiving yards? Are you looking at receptions? What are receptions by yards? What would be if you're looking at a passing offense, what stat are you looking at to dictate how good their passing offense is?
I'd probably look at passing yards and yards per attempt.
Mm-hmm.
Those be the two for me, right? Because I mean, the larger the yards per attempt, they're more explosive or try to be explosive. And then obviously, number of yards per game. You know how often they're going to try to do it. I don't know if that's the clear-cut way to assess something like that, but either way, I can't envision the Rams
bias, Alex. When you look at what, I think the important thing for the Raiders ultimately is the fact that you've had 4 or 5 games of rushing explosiveness from Josh Jacobs and the offensive line, and I think that is perhaps a more valid statistic moving forward because. Today in the NFL and generally in the NFL, it's about what have you done for me lately and what have you done now, today, current, recently. And frankly, the Raiders have just killed it in the running game with Josh Jacobs in the last couple of games.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a fact. And I mean, as a safety, you must be pissed off about that kind of stuff because you're looking at the opponent saying like, "What are you doing? Like, you're not doing your job, right?" So. When you look at what the Raiders have done in recent games, they have really, really done well on the running game, which means they're getting to the second and third level of the defense, which is, a victory on all accounts from a running game perspective.
My, if I were to be a head coach, my game would be a lot like Wisconsin. I would run the ball until you make me pass it.
100%.
I'd run between tackles. I'd establish. I would wear the defense down because those safeties, they got to come up, and then all of a sudden those guys start going, "Oh man, you know what? I can't." They're not thinking, and that's when you hit them with the play action pass. So that would be the way that I would always establish the run game, and then I think the biggest stat is turnover ratio. Who's got more turnovers. And when we defensively can create turnovers, Cap, I think we're pretty good at usually winning the ball game, if I'm not mistaken, right? And that would be
when we're even or in the plus, we're good.
And then also offensively, if Carr can, if we can eliminate the interceptions and we can eliminate the fumbles, which we had one interception and 1 fumble, which was kind of
like I said, that one interception was a bull BS interception, but and coaches even attested to that as well. So
was that a pass interference then? Was that pass interference?
Yes, it was.
We can get into the whole long conversation about what pass interference is in this day and age.
I'm totally asking. I couldn't see the replay enough to know what happened. So I'm asking you. Was it pass interference or not? I'm not trying to like.
Well, when you have somebody that goes over into a headlock that is a missed headlock, okay, and goes over the helmet, misses the headlock, knocks him off his route, and the ball pops in the air.
Yeah, there we go. He tried to pass interfere. He just missed. There we go.
Yeah.
There you go. You just told us.
I suppose that's not pass interference. By definition.
We just talked you through that.
Exactly.
That
was we can move on.
That's our new segment. Is it PI?
Right. There you go.
So let me give you the general football answer. The team that can establish the run game, the team that can eliminate turnovers, the team that can create turnovers, and the team that, you know what, if we get in the red zone and we need to score touchdowns, and if not, at least field goals. So missed field goals will go into that as well. That's like the general. Usually the team that can do that is the team that's going to win. So that would. I'm not good at projecting stuff, guys. I'm really not. I hate projecting. I hate giving predictions because usually when I predict, I'm always freaking wrong. So I don't, and
I get it.
The safe prediction.
I get it. Yeah.
Don't say anything.
I think the Raiders could win. I
Don't
think
say
the Raiders could
anything.
lose.
I think both teams are somewhat, similar. I know they have a lot of guys hurt, which the Rams guy came out and said a lot of guys are hurt, but
yeah.
That's every NFL team at this point, though. Every team has injuries. If there's a guy on any roster right now that does not have an injury, he's not playing hard enough, right? So
that's a good point.
Everyone's going to suffer from injuries, and again, I think I'm going to say if I were to pick one, I'm going to say if defense can create 2 turnovers, will win. And I said I hate giving predictions.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Stuart on the show, who is a professional NFL safety, former professional NFL safety for the now Las Vegas Raiders, former Oakland Raiders. And if you want to go ahead and give a like and a comment down below in the video here, that would be greatly appreciated. We have got a legitimate NFL talent here on the show with us tonight. Ad hoc, I might add, which is fantastic.
Just so you know, the more I've ever gotten involved, like the more I really like dipped into like the NFL and like the coaches and tried to get like in there.
Yeah.
The less I knew, guys. So just let's just preface that.
So Stuart, the one thing that I would love to get from you at some point is, and this is the one super interesting thing just from a football standpoint, is I'd love to have a juxtaposed guy like myself and a guy like you analyze film.
I'd love to. I would
love to have someone like you and someone like me analyze like an all 22 film tape on like the Broncos or the Raiders or
I don't care. Yeah, we can pick any team.
I'd love to have stuff like that, because the one thing that Captain has me on his show for is a lot of the times, like I'm literally the most unbiased Broncos fan you'll probably meet. And for me, I am super critical.
He's picking off Jake Plummer in Mile High there. Rod Smith missed the ball, and I picked off Jake the Snake.
Nice.
Well, congratulations! But
standby. Hey, that's a better QB than Russell too.
If he was playing when Russell Wilson was playing, he'd just have like about 20 picks.
See, I really liked Russell Wilson. I liked when he was at Wisconsin. I'm a Big Ten guy. I've been a fan of Russell Wilson. I just don't like his Subway commercials, man. I don't know what the hell he's doing.
I am not a fan of what I'm seeing from him today. I'm seeing a lot of
Mr. Unlimited, right? Isn't that what?
I'm seeing a guy that cares more about a brand than football. And
Richard Sherman's podcast, he talked about no teammate can actually, nobody has his phone number. You got to call his manager who sets up a time.
I know. Really?
Yeah. Richard Sherman and Marshawn Lynch talked about that on his podcast. 10 minutes. They're like, that's kind of.
That's not.
He is unlimited, He's unlimited.
Mr. Unlimited.
Right.
Anyways, no, I used to really like Russell Wilson. I guess I don't. Not that I don't like the guy now. He's just. When I saw him roll up to is it Mile High Stadium or whatever, and he's in a Bronco
field at Mile High.
He's in a Ford Bronco, and then he's wearing his own uniform, and he comes out. I was like, that's pretty that's weird.
He's corny.
Man.
He's corny.
Corny is.
Sorry, Stuart. I do want to interject. I believe the word you're looking for is narcissistic.
Well, a narcissistic cornball is what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree, and I think that in order to earn that at a new destination like Russell Wilson is in that right now, is to earn what he did when he came in here. He would have had to have come in and done what Peyton Manning did when he came in 2012, 2013.
Yeah, he wasn't.
And
I love Peyton Manning. I played against him twice. I think he's a great competitor. I think he's a great ambassador for the NFL. I think he's funny. I think he does a lot of. Pretty much. There's never really been any BS when it comes to Peyton Manning. So.
He's truly a student of the game.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when we would play Peyton Manning. So he'd come up and he'd make a call, and then we'd make a call, and then he'd come up and make another call, and then we'd make another call, and then he'd go back to the first call. So we'd go back to the first call. I'm like, gee, what are we doing here, guys? Like, my Lord, man, this guy. No, he was a great football player. I played with his brother Eli. Eli is a little different, but another great quarterback. Anytime that's the thing. If you can win a Super Bowl, I can't say anything to you, man. That's what you play the NFL for. So any guy that's ever won a Super Bowl, there's something to be said about that. But yeah, no. Peyton Manning is great, and Tatum Bell is a close friend of mine. I remember Tatum Bell from Oklahoma State, played running back for Denver at all. Rich, do you remember Tatum Bell?
Yeah.
And then David Kirkus.
Yeah.
He's also another close friend of mine. So, and then who was the tight end that you had from Western Michigan that played quite a while? What was his? He's actually from Michigan.
While we're trying to figure out that, because this is the best segue I'm going to have, gentlemen. I hate doing this. I'm already about 4 minutes late. Stuart, thank you for coming in, and I know that all the guys were thankful to have your professional analysis in here. But I got to run over to NFL Nation Live because we're going to talk about the Raiders beating the Garglers this past week. See, I had to get it in, Coach. I'm going to get it in at least once a game.
Garglers? I've never heard that.
Yeah, the Garglers.
Trademark.
Raiders win.
We're working on the copyright right now.
Yeah, copyright. Make sure that you also subscribe to Stuart Schweigert's YouTube channel because the great man has his own YouTube channel. He does all of that. Gentlemen, and I use this term, thanks again for having me in. We'll see everybody later on. Great victory by the Raiders. Y'all take care. Stuart, I'll see you over on the other show after this. Take care, guys. It's always a pleasure. And before I leave, because Jack Kenna is saying that if I don't say this, he's going to basically whop my knees. Be sure, Stuart, before you pop out, that you tell people how you handled Tony Gonzalez back in the day. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say.
Guys, that's going to be some pretty unique insight. Let's just quickly jump into that real quick, Stuart. Tony Gonzalez and I.
Y'all take care.
See you, Jack. Tony Gonzalez and I are not best friends. I am not overly fond of him. I found that he was a relatively soft tight end in the NFL. I think that he was he had no grit to him. He was all
you can call Tony Gonzalez a soft tight end, but you're an Eric Saubert fan. I don't understand.
I am an Eric Saubert fan because he is not a soft tight end. He is
he's a tight end that has 3 catches in his career. Tony Gonzalez had like 10,000. So I mean,
that's good for him. So you're saying he's a wide receiver that finagled and pretended to be a tight end. Good for you. Fantastic. You've highlighted what my point is ultimately, which is tight ends. See, even Stuart is agreeing with me because he just laughed at what I said. Which is tight ends are primarily meant to be a big-bodied blocker at the offensive line that then double as a pass-catching option for the offense. Whereas Tony Gonzalez was in my opinion, a soft version of a tight end.
Well,
so, Stuart, over to you. I want to fire over to you to kind of your take on things and how you were able to handle. He's clearly a Hall of Fame tight end at his position.
Let me make this statement first. Tony Gonzalez is one of the greatest tight ends to ever play.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
He said tight end too, not receiver. So
Yeah, he's a receiver.
Along with Antonio Gates. Antonio Gates is a Michigan guy.
Thank
Antonio
you.
Gates is a very, very, very good tight end. And I do want to pay homage to my Charger Purdue guys with being Drew Brees, being Nick Hardwick,
Yes.
being Sean Phillips.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, sir.
Dealman, offensive lineman, was a great lineman. Goff from Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Jackson, R.I.P. God rest his soul. Had a chance to play against him, but Asin Osgood was a close friend of mine. Along with Clinton Hart, is another player that I have personal connections with.
Okay.
Knowing a lot of Chargers, I just wanted to throw that out there. But yeah, Tony Gonzalez. So you will not be able to find one video clip, one game where Tony Gonzalez ever catches. Well, I did miss one tackle on him in 8 games, one tackle. But you'll never find a play where he scores a touchdown and dunks on me or dunks on the goalpost. And I'm actually the only person to ever knock him out and give him a concussion.
Really?
And I have the clip.
that's a fine debate.
He actually took it off YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He copyrighted your hit?
And I if I could,
You can do that.
I do. I didn't make my own video. I make my own. So on my YouTube page, I do have highlights from high school, from when I was playing T-ball. I have a whole bunch of stuff on there, but I put it all through. God damn it! Is it Final Cut Pro? And I have a clip that I'd like to show if I could. Would I be able to?
Pull it up.
All
I
right,
think
here we
you can.
go.
I don't know. I'm not.
No, it's from all my own.
Yeah, I just don't know this StreamYard. If we can, I don't know how the share screen works. I'm assuming it's pretty easy.
I know how to do it if you don't mind. But
Do it.
if you
do it.
So a funny story about Tony Gonzalez. It was, I think, in 2006, and it was in Oakland. And Tony goes, Stu, man, hey, can you stop hitting me in the legs, man, and hit me up higher, or what? Can you hit me up higher or whatever? And I'm going,
I'm gonna hit you lower now.
I said, what the F did you just say to me? What'd you say? Hey man, if you could you just, let's keep it, me and you, we can work out I said, what? I said, listen, I don't play for Kansas City, Tony. I said, actually, you know what? Hey, you know what? Let me know where you're going to run a 7 route, and I'll just fall down. You can catch a touchdown. Is that cool too? Or, is that what you want to do? Hey, man, Stu, why you got to be like that, dude? I said, Tony, I don't play you. You're talking about the Raiders Chiefs right now, dude.
Yeah,
just so you know now, I said, I am going to
now I gotta hit you.
Yeah, exactly.
I am going to try to break your kneecaps in backwards.
Wow.
So you know,
Yeah, I'd take the same approach.
Yeah,
but he was a very good athlete. How big was he? 6'6",
6'5", 6'6", yeah.
245, yeah.
Before every tight end was 6'5", 6'6".
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
But he was more of a basketball player.
He was.
He was.
Him and Antonio Gates both, I think, were.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Antonio
Gates didn't even play college football.
Nope, he played basketball at Kent State. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Tony G did both at Cal, but
he did it. He absolutely did play both at Cal.
Yeah.
And again, I have no problem giving him his flowers, but every interview when he talks about like games like, hey, was there ever a safety that you had to, watch out for or whatever? He will not bring my name up. Will not. And I'm always thinking, you son of a, So here, let me,
Son of a biscuit.
Yeah, play the clip.
yeah, well, no, hey, you guys talk. Let me find this thing here.
All right, we'll go.
Yeah. So talk about your hatred for Tony Gonzalez, because even when he's on the Thursday Night Football, he's just lame, dude. He's just
The only beef I have with him is
he
kind of talked about Atlanta, like, Atlanta was where his
was
home
better.
was. That's the only beef I got with him. Otherwise, I really can't have too much. Side note, though, we do have a Dolphins fan in the chat.
I guess what my problem with him is that I see the tight end position as being the closest proxy to my position in rugby. And so I played the lock position in rugby. So if you don't know what that is, it's the second row of a rugby scrum. So I was a hybrid between a pass catcher in rugby as well as a member of almost like the offensive line in rugby. And so my height, weight, Stuart, you'd kind of understand kind of where I fit into the NFL side of things.
Yeah. What is it?
I'm about 6'2" and 240 pounds.
Oh, so you're big guy.
Yeah. So I could also run a 5-minute mile.
Not now, you can't.
Now I can't, but when I was playing, I could.
All right.
So what I was 6'2", 240, and I could run a 5-minute mile.
So you were very athletic.
Yeah, I was. And so I was a rare breed of size and speed. My family came from a football background in terms of leatherheads and whatnot. And so I was a unique, blend of an athlete. And when I see someone like Tony Gonzalez not being able to block almost at all.
Yeah, but at the same time,
it rubbed me the wrong way, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm not going to lie. I had to block every day when I was on the field.
Yeah, but you're also taking a very archaic approach to the tight end position when you're comparing it to today's game. And Tony Gonzalez, like it or not, was a trailblazer for the blueprint of how teams scout and draft and get tight ends on their roster. I mean, today's offense,
I'm not like that at all.
Today's offense, from the NFL to any Power 5 school, outside of your outliers like your Big Ten, Wisconsin's, or your run heavy, triple option teams, their tight end is not there to primarily block. Their tight end is there to get a quick 5 yards and be a receiving threat, and the blocking is secondary.
So if you pull that up, it'll here we go.
Perfect.
Oh, here we go.
The autumn wind is a pirate, blustering in from sea with a rollicking song.
Here's Tony right here. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm trying to get up.
That's a penalty today.
Look, he look, watch him.
Really stepped over him, huh? Oh, wow.
Blow the whistle, baby.
Yeah.
I missed that type of play.
Wow.
Like I said, that'd be a penalty today, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Only time he's ever been knocked out, and he will not acknowledge.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That's actually a pretty sweet hit.
Man.
Come on, Crane Green, you gotta look off better.
Damon Heward.
And it was clean. It was with the shoulder.
It was clean.
It was clean. You're right. It was high, but it was clean.
But you'll see more of it. I have more plays.
Even in today's, do you know what the sad part about is that today in the NFL they would call that as a penalty, even though that was a completely clean.
No, you're right. No, you're right. They would.
Yep. Sure
They
was.
would.
Friggin', I hate seeing this Damon Heward highlight clips, though. Come on. Now you see where Chiefs Kingdom comes from.
Here goes Priest Holmes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to break
Priest
his
was a
legs.
beast.
Come here. Come here, bitch.
Is that what he scored?
Here's Tony again right here. Watch Tony right here on the goal line. Come here. Come here.
No super.
Watch him. Look at him. Watch him.
Dude, come on, so let me score.
Oh, Trent. Hey, That offensive line right there, though, is pretty dirty.
Come here, Tony. Bow.
Nice.
Fuck off me. Or sorry, get off. Sorry.
Flashbacks, baby.
Here we go. Here's another hit of the game. Here we go. Yum.
Woo! I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
He ain't looking at me. Watch him walk back to the huddle.
Look, as a fanalist, I miss hits like that because
here we go. So Woodson hits the ball out, and I get the fumble recovery. And watch Tony on me. I'm like, get off of me. Get off me.
Right.
Oh, man.
And that's the stuff that I miss in the NFL, which is the physicality of the game.
Yeah, I know.
It's gotten so
I
bad
also
that
kind of
the
miss
receivers
the,
don't even
Kevin
see
Weir.
this anymore.
I
So
like
you have to
the
remember,
Coliseum games with the
Stuart,
diamond
I'm
out
used to
there.
getting kicked in the head and then getting up again.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like in rugby, that was a common thing where I used to get a foot in the
Who is
face.
that? Oh no, that's more.
The Butcher.
That was that's my nickname, the Butcher.
I like it. I like it.
Dude, that's so I have been called either the lunatic or the or Northern Thunder.
Northern Thunder makes sense. That makes sense.
So those are my kind of two nicknames there. It's absolutely remarkable how the game has gotten away from legitimate hits.
It's kind of,
You could think CTE and everything else for that.
yeah.
But it's not just CTE. It's the fact that there is a risk in playing a contact sport. And I think that, like, sadly, I think the whole CTE discussion has gone too high in terms of the risk factor, in the fact that you are playing a contact sport. My whole family.
Here's the thing: is we all know that. It's just that they need to help out guys that are dealing with this. That's the thing. We're as far as former players go. Like for me, I mean, I was awarded total and permanent disability a year and a half ago. I had over 60 concussions when I played, which I wouldn't trade that in for the world. I would not trade it in. All I'm saying is help us out, man. Like, you know,
but yeah,
I agree with that.
System in and of itself, and
I
like
agree with
benefits,
that. I agree with
all
that.
of that. It's all
I
ass
agree with that.
backwards. So
I mean, and when you look at the amount of money that you're talking about, like it's pennies of what
100%,
the NFL.
100%.
Yeah, it brings.
I mean, I remember when I was for the Raiders, you know, when Willie Brown, God rest his soul, would pass a helmet around. Hey, so and so needs a wheelchair. So and so needs home hospice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of the OGs that whether or not they didn't get qualified or whatnot, they weren't able to make it work, and they need, you know, just some extra money just to live, you know,
survive,
to build a
100%.
wheelchair ramp up to their house or something. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like the NFL can't.
Right.
The NFL can't like
You should
help that guy out.
4 years into the league, you should have full medical benefits for the rest of your life.
but
Right.
it ain't like
Yeah,
that.
no, only 5 years afterwards.
The only like favorable kind of benefit setup is MLB, man. The rest of them, it's not very good. Like MLB, if you're on a roster for 30 days, benefits for life.
In my time, the NFL was the third game of your third year, I think.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
not-
but
It's either
even
all
the
or
system
nothing,
wants
too.
it, yeah.
All or nothing.
Wow.
So
Actually, forgive me now. Denver Bronco, Kyle Orton.
yeah.
Yeah.
And also Jay Cutler. So my roommate at Purdue was John Goldsberry from Santa Claus, Indiana. Heritage Hills
Santa
Patriot.
Claus.
That's where after my freshman year, I went back to Santa Claus, and there was they called it a farm party, I want to say, and we had like tents, and I'm pretty sure I pissed in the corner of Jay Cutler's tent. I was hammered.
As you should, though.
Why? What's wrong with Jay Cutler?
Oh man.
No, I like Jay Cutler.
was a
Actually,
bit of
I like his not give a shit attitude. To be
Yeah,
real.
he's very.
I don't like how his
very
freaking wife is like, you need to get a job. Like, dude, I played what 11, 12 years, and you want
12
me
years and made like I don't even know how much.
and I need to work. Like
Yeah.
the only reason people know who you are is because of me.
Mm.
Jay Cutler was an interesting guy. So he seemed like a guy that kind of wasted his talent in the NFL. And I think that if he truly put more
he
focus,
could sling it, man. He could sling it.
yeah,
But that was just that was it. No, he worked very hard. It was just his laid back
aura.
His
mentality.
demeanor. Yeah.
I mean, you don't last that. I mean, I've never been there, but I would like
that's
to
my
think
point.
You don't make you
don't
don't make it there if you don't work hard.
You don't get a fucking contract if you don't work hard.
You don't make it to that level if you don't work hard. But my point is that he had all the he had all the skill sets in the world to be an elite quarterback in the NFL. And I felt
He
that
was though.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty good. Like,
no,
I mean, look at his support staff, though.
No, he wasn't. He was a good quarterback at the NFL level.
I would have took him. I would have took him right away during my Raider days. I would have took him right now.
No, for sure. But the problem with Jay Cutler is that he had every opportunity to be as good as say a Peyton Manning at the NFL level.
I wouldn't go that far.
No, he did.
He didn't have no Marvin Harrison, Dallas
he
Clark,
did.
Reggie Wayne, Edgerrin
He
James.
did. He did. And
offensive line, Jeff
and a pretty good defense. Pretty good defense with
Bob
Cato
Sanders,
June, Bob Sanders,
Dwight Freeney. Yeah.
Dwight Freeney,
Robert Mathis,
Marlon Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is that when Jay Cutler entered in the league, all of the rules in the NFL favored the quarterback to be protected effectively. And Cutler had an arm that rivaled that of, say, a guy like John Elway even. And
I'd say better.
Yeah, no. And I'm trying to be as a Broncos.
And I apologize. I'm not a big
sure.
John Elway fan. I'm not. I don't.
I think he's highly overrated. I can prove it.
I think so too. I don't like the fact that he came out of Stanford and said, I'm not going to go to whoever drafts me. I'm going to go where I want.
I have my own opinions on that approach.
I've met him, and he looks just like the Bronco outside the stadium. Like his teeth are that they're that big.
Yeah.
Like,
didn't Eli do the same thing though?
He did. No, that's why I don't. Me and Eli, not like me and Eli are bores, but we came out in 2004 and we were. I was a Playboy All-American, preseason Playboy All-American, and we went to the weekend in Arizona, and he was there. And
nice.
Eli did the same thing. Yeah, I'm not going to. I think it was the Chargers, and that's why he flipped with Philip Rivers. Right?
Rivers.
Straight on draft day.
And then you had Ben Roethlisberger in that draft too.
You did.
And look what he did.
And Aaron Rodgers was in that draft too.
And J.P. Lossman.
J.P. Lossman. On that note, Stuart, it has been
Aaron Rodgers was the next year.
Yeah.
I thought he was in the draft.
Aaron Rodgers was
2005. He was the next year.
He was 05.
Aaron Rodgers was 05. Alex Smith was #1 pick, and Rodgers was like
Alex
what,
Smith.
23rd?
I thought he was in the same draft as Roethlisberger. I'm sorry.
That messed with my draft knowledge, man.
My fault.
That's pretty good, Givens.
I got it.
Well, on that note, gentlemen, Stuart, it's been a blessing. I appreciate you coming through. I can't get enough of old football stories and legacy knowledge that you've been providing us. I definitely appreciate that. I got to run to do another interview for my podcast, but I thank you and I appreciate you for being here. And
I'll cover the Chargers game for you, Coach. I got you.
Appreciate that.
Don't worry.
So if you please come back at some point, I would love to hear more that you have to say at some point.
Well, no, and again, you guys are all always welcome on my channel. If you ever see me on or whatever, man, you guys are always welcome.
Awesome. I've already followed you on YouTube. So I definitely will check out your clips as well.
Stuart, I am well entrenched in the Raiders Nation podcast. Wi-Fi Willie, who's arguably the largest in the Raiders Nation podcast.
See, I love having other opinions.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Raiders fans.
Yeah.
I don't give a F about other teams. It's like, well, you should, because that's going to give you a better
perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So I am well known within the Raiders Nation.
But I gotta go, guys. I'll see y'all later.
Have a good one, Coach. So I am well known within Raiders Nation. I am amongst one of the more objective Broncos fans out there. I am actually a huge fan of Foster
So
Moreau.
I literally thought when I was leaving Oakland, I was going to go to Denver because Shanahan every game, like, because I used to, even though I was a starter, I played on all the special teams, so I'd be on kickoff, and I was always out. I was L1, a safety or whatever, and I'd be over here, and
right. Yep.
Shanahan would always be like, "Hey, Schweigert, keep it up, man. You're playing great," and I'm like, "Thanks, Shanahan. I appreciate that." I'm like,
Well,
and then
Shanahan is a Hall of Fame coach.
In 06 or 07, it was 07.
Shanahan's a Hall of Fame coach for sure.
In their program, I actually have a 2-page spread in their program, and I remember I was in the locker room, and all my teammates were like, well, "Stu, I guess you're going to Denver," But then it just, I don't know what happened. It didn't happen, but I thought I was going to go. I would have liked. After I left Oakland, I would have liked to go to Denver.
Denver
Jeb Poutier is a very close friend of mine.
Very cool. Very cool. So Stuart,
speaking of tight ends,
right. So I guess what my issue with just overall in our discussion overall is that I always felt that Gonzalez just generally speaking was finesse over technique. And perhaps I'm off base on that, but
I know. I mean, I would say he had good technique along with.
He had good pass catching technique.
He wasn't
a run blocker.
I would say he wasn't the toughest guy. So I would say, yeah.
That's what I mean. He was a pretty California boy, right? So
Cal Berkeley.
Like, for example, when you look at a guy like my guy on the Denver Broncos right now is Eric Saubert. And Eric Saubert to me is the prototypical tight end terms of.
So I don't know. What's his name?
His name is Eric Saubert. He's
been around 5 years from Drake University, Des Moines.
Saubert?
Yeah. Yeah, Saubert.
I'm from Canada. He's got a lot of cool tattoos. That's cool.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a reasonable proxy, I would say that he is a guy that is akin
to white or what?
He's a white dude.
Yeah, he's white.
So
from where?
I see him as. Do you know a guy named Joel Dreesen?
Drake University. Is it? Okay.
So do you know a guy named Joel Dreesen?
Drake's in the Big Sky.
Yeah, I know Joel Dreesen.
Okay, so Joel Dreesen, Eric Saubert to me is exactly like Joel Dreesen.
Dude, Joel Dreesen's older brother was my fucking sorry.
You're good.
Was my his older brother Jason Dreesen was an assistant strength coach at Purdue when I was at Purdue.
Fantastic. So
because he played at Colorado State, right?
Yeah, he did. So Joel Dreesen is is a guy that I kind of equate Eric Saubert to.
Small world.
Yeah, exactly. So Joel Dreesen was a guy came from the Texans. He was a blocking tight end who also doubled as a pass
this guy looks like a beast, dude.
Yeah, he's massive.
Yeah, look up his career stats though, just real quick.
No, but but this is where I kind of put what Stuart was saying earlier in the show, which is if you find a program or a team that utilizes you properly, you're going to have much better stats and you're going to have elevated even statistics if a team knows how to use you properly. In my opinion,
he was with the Raiders. He was with Oakland.
Yes.
He's been around a lot of teams.
He's been around a lot of teams. Eric Saubert, in my opinion,
never really did anything, huh? I mean, it's shit.
So when you see what he's done with the Broncos, I kind of seen the Broncos utilize him probably better than most teams. In my opinion, when you have a primarily blocking tight end, they seem to go under the radar, and Saubert has kind of been that guy where he's been.
He ran a 4.7, so
exactly. And really your top tier tight ends are in the 4.6s.
He scored a 35 on his Wonderlic though.
I know. He's wicked smart.
Well, he went to Drake.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Big Sky Conference.
Yeah,
Valpo's in it.
So, in my opinion, he's kind of one of those guys who's wicked smart, knows exactly what to do, how to do it.
I think Rich just likes that he went to Drake. Like, Drake, since Drake's from Canada.
Toronto, we got it.
OTO, baby.
Well, see, here's the thing. I didn't even know Saubert before he came to the Broncos. And then when I saw him play, I was like, that's the guy that he should be utilized more. And the Broncos just never utilized him to his ability.
Well, I mean, you know what?
But as a former safety, though, you have to look at a guy like that in terms of his size and speed kind of mismatch and say that's a guy.
Just off of his height alone.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't want to go against a guy like that because he's got a height that's like 2, 3, 4 inches taller than you.
Yeah.
And he's got a size and speed mix, which is not favorable.
What you're saying? I mean, not me. I would love to go against him. I'd break his jaw in half if I had a chance to go against him. But most safeties are about 6 foot, 5'11", maybe 6'1" on some high heels. But yeah, so he creates miss. But aren't all tight ends like this guy though?
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays,
a lot of them are now. Yeah, a lot of them are now.
Day and age.
And a lot of them are a lot more athletic than this guy, I think. Then, right? Or
well, yeah. No, as Jack just said in the chat, all I have to say is Kelsey. So,
Iowa, baby.
Yeah.
Big Ten.
Cincinnati.
Alex, I do want to. I'm going to throw over
Kelsey. It's Cincinnati.
Yep.
No. Who am I thinking of? No.
Hawkinson, Fant. Hawkinson's Iowa. Noah Fant.
No, Kelsey's Iowa,
Dallas
dude.
Clark. No, he went to Cincinnati. I promise. Both him and his brother.
The guy with the Kid Rock hair, right?
Travis Kelsey.
He's got the Kid Rock hair, doesn't he?
Maybe.
He's got the long hair, doesn't he? Or am I mistaking him for somebody else?
So
you're thinking Hawkinson.
Alex,
Hawkinson.
I do want to. So Alex, I do want to.
No, I'm thinking of the guy from. Wait,
Kittle.
I'm thinking of Kittle. My bad.
Kittle's a different cat.
Kelsey's a badass, and Kittle's a badass too, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Kittle
he is.
went to Iowa.
Waller was a badass, but not no.
So Stuart, I do want to thank you for joining us today. If you want to keep on with us, I'm happy to have you stick with us. I do want to jump over to the Chargers-Dolphins matchup this week. This is an AFC West podcast after all, even though our Chargers main guru has left for another interview.
I'd love to stay on if you don't mind.
No, stick with us. So this is the Dolphins Chargers 3-point stance, which is an opponent who's going to give us some feedback on the Dolphins and what they need to do to beat the Chargers. We're going to throw over to that now, guys, and feel free to follow. This is Dolphins Wire's own. And we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. You have paper as well. Good for you.
Mike Masala from the Dolphins Wire. You can find me on Twitter at Mike_Masala. You can find my podcast at Moving the Posts on Twitter. Anywhere you get your podcasts, more Boston sports related there, but Dolphins Wire, you can read all my stuff there. 3 things that the Dolphins need to do in order to beat the Los Angeles Chargers in this upcoming matchup on Sunday night. Number 1, they need to protect Tua Tagovailoa. We saw this past week against the San Francisco 49ers. Nick Bosa had 3 sacks. They were getting after Tua with both starting tackles out for Miami. You might see Teron Armstead return in Week 14. But they also brought in Eric Fisher, a veteran offensive tackle, former number 1 pick. They need to protect Tua in this game. Allow him the peace of mind. That was more the problem in the 49ers game. It wasn't so much that the pressure was getting to him every time. It was the peace of mind and allowing him to make the throws, feel confident in the pocket, and deliver those throws accurately. Building off of that, you need to run the ball. Miami had 8 rushes in their last game against San Francisco. That is not going to get it done against any team. and especially against a potential playoff competitor, a contender in the Los Angeles Chargers, they'll need to use Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson a lot more, even if they're relying on backup tackles. And the third thing, you really need to focus in on Los Angeles's key contributors on offense. You need Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, if Mike Williams does play, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. You need to slow those guys down. Austin Eckler specifically is not the same as Christian McCaffrey, but has similar style as he does, as he can be a pass catcher, he can be a solid runner. Miami struggled against him heavily last week in San Francisco. I believe he had over 140 yards. You can't allow that to happen with Austin Eckler this week. Slow him down, keep him from scoring. If you can do those three things, the Dolphins have an easy time getting this win. They need to build on their success early on in the season. They have a tough stretch in December. Go in, win against the Los Angeles, show them you made the right decision. Tua over Herbert. That's it. That's how the Dolphins win.
Yeah.
Boom.
Well, no, I don't know.
He had an interesting take. I actually felt that there was
Okay.
some almost some hedging of what the Dolphins could do versus the Chargers there. Which was interesting because I actually think that the Dolphins have a legitimate chance of beating the Chargers.
I think so too. If it all, I mean, the first thing I wrote down, when he was talking about protecting Tua, I think when you compare last week to like the pressure they got last week, I think it's kind of skewed because you had Shanahan versus his old protege. They run a lot of the same stuff. He probably knew what McDaniels was trying to do in some components of stuff. So, I don't think the Chargers get as much pressure as San Fran was getting. Plus, the San Fran's Bosa is healthy, where the Chargers Bosa is not.
Right, 100%.
But I just think when you have Tyreek, Waddle, Gesicki, and I mean they have a pretty lethal receiving core against a kind of banged up Chargers.
If I can interject there, I also think you have a head coach that knows how to use them.
Oh yeah, I mean,
obviously,
right?
Sure.
Like they're both, I mean, they're killing it, right? I think Tyreek has 1,400 yards. So, I mean, obviously he knows how to use them. And I think the fact that you also have Waddle, who's a very similar player, only makes it worse. I think the big key for the Chargers, and I mean, obviously the Dolphins guy felt that too because it was his number one key to victory, but they're going to have to get pressure because, I mean, that's how you stop them is getting pressure on Tua. He's, in my opinion, I mean, he's a good QB, obviously progressed, taken leaps forward this year in terms of where he was at last year with a different coach and scheme and everything else. But, in the limited amount of Tua action I've watched, you can tell a difference in how he assesses and reads a field when he's getting hit a lot versus when he's not, when it's a relatively clean pocket and game for him.
100%.
So
100%.
To me, that's, I mean, they're going to have a lot out of Khalil Mack. And if Armstead's out, or if both tackles are out, but more specifically, if Armstead's out, the signs are looking good for the Chargers to be able to do that. But I really think from a Dolphins perspective, I mean, I said it when the Chiefs played the Chargers. I think pretty much any opponent's going to say it when they got the Chargers. You got to run the ball. I mean, they're not very good at stopping the run. They've clearly got a nice two-headed kind of beast going once they got Jeff Wilson. Mostert and Wilson, both old San Fran guys who McDaniels knows well, but he's at least been using them pretty effectively. I kind of think you saw, he mentioned, I think they had 8 rushes last week, probably a little skewed by the game script and, who they were playing. But I would imagine you see Miami come out and make a pretty large emphasis to run the ball. I feel like that's what
I agree.
every team's kind of been doing against the Chargers. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I feel like every team comes out running the crap out of the ball, and I don't see how Miami's going to do anything different. Biggest thing is if everyone's healthy, because I think Mike Williams is limited. So I mean, there's a chance he plays. If he's out there, it certainly kind of tips the scales, because I think if it gets down to throws versus throws,
that just gives the Chargers a benefit in, say, like a jump ball scenario ultimately, because that's what Mike Williams' true skill set is, the 50-50 ball, and at the end of the day, if the Dolphins are able to put pressure on the Chargers offensive line, that somewhat negates the 50-50 ball, because Herbert won't be able to set his feet and plant and then throw.
Yeah, but at the same time, I guess QB to QB comparison, Herbert can most definitely make an accurate throw with his feet not set, where I don't think Tua can.
I agree. I agree with your assessment. Yeah. Sure.
But I just think that, if they have a fully healthy receiving core, including Mike Williams, then you're going to get to a point where the game's going to be kind of a shootout, and I would give that weight to the Chargers and Herbert more than Tua, just because I'm obviously not a Dolphins fan. I don't make an effort to watch Dolphins games all that much outside of what I see on Red Zone, but I don't feel that they're as explosive passing as you would think they would be, having a Tyreek Hill and a Jalen Waddle. I feel like are more nickel and dime West Coast kind of passing schemes, to where you get if you get a Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, I mean, for as 50-50 ball and big body as Mike Williams is, he always seems to be catching some pretty deep routes. So, I think
Mike Williams reminds me a lot of Tim Patrick from the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, because he's all in.
Yeah.
But Mike Williams also, in my opinion, has the opponents he shows out against, and then the other people he's almost silent against.
Average.
He's a Chiefs killer. Dude always seems to be a top 5 player in the league when he's playing the Chiefs. But again, I don't watch every Chargers game, start to finish. So I might be mischaracterizing this assessment, but I mean, he's not a consistent wide receiver versus who he's playing. But
100%.
But and at the same time, Miami doesn't have terrible corners. I mean, Xavier Howard is I mean, old but up there. Byron Jones, they paid him a lot of money. He's at least a respectable presence. And then they got that other guy. I'm going to butcher his name, but I know he's from Noah something. But I mean, they have pretty respectable corners. So I think it could be on paper, it's a pretty even matchup in terms of where. Even with the Chargers being kind of depleted in terms of energy, but I think it's a pretty even matchup and should be a pretty good game. I'm looking at the national matchup predictor here. It's pretty much 50-50. So I think most of America would agree that it could kind of go either way. It really depends on, what Dolphins team shows up.
No, I think that's appropriate. So, I mean, with Coach not here to really provide some additional insight, Alex, I'd like to move on to where you and I can really, go right at it, if you will. And
absolutely.
I mean, welcome to Week 14, my man.
I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a good one.
I mean, I think the Broncos have all but established themselves as a top probably 5 defense in the NFL.
Yeah, but can't score. So
nope. I said defense, not offense.
I know.
So I mean, I think that our defense is basically solidified ourselves in the top 5, and I think we're pretty much golden in that respect. But our offensive's 31. I don't even know where to.
Yeah.
31, 32, 25, 27, like somewhere in that range. And obviously that's not going to get it done in the NFL level. So, when I look ahead and I look at the KC Broncos game, I mean, we held the Ravens to like 10 points.
Well, yeah, but Lamar Jackson wasn't playing.
Well, he wasn't playing for part of the game. He was playing for some of it. But, I think that when you look at the Broncos defense has done is that we have really limited quarterbacks who have looked really good to being, okay.
Yeah.
And that really says a lot about our defensive coordinator in Ejiro, who I truly believe is going to get some legitimate head coach, opportunities this offseason, because you can't be that good and not get positive feedback in the NFL level. Like he's really looked elite as a defensive coordinator, and a lot of teams are going to say, even if you don't have our offense looking good, as long as you can bring in an offensive coordinator who can do okay, your defense is going to look amazing. So we're happy to take that risk. So I'm looking ahead at the Chiefs versus Broncos game. I expect the Broncos defense to again look upper echelon, but if the offense cannot score to complement the defense, it's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah. And what are we in week 14? And they've yet to show that they can score. So, yeah.
No, I mean, there is no delusion on my part looking at what the Broncos offense has done, which is piss poor, to say the least. And what we saw from this past game against the Ravens was Russell Wilson really has done much better with the Broncos offense with throwing to tight ends.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, Dolchich was the primary guy. 8 targets. Yeah.
Yep. And I think that says a lot to do with Russell Wilson's height. I think what the ultimate issue is Wilson needs to wear some Tom Cruise heels. and I'm not trying to be rude or mean or cruel or whatever, but in today's NFL, you're dealing with a lot of offensive linemen who are just naturally athletic, despite the fact that they're like 6'5".
Yeah, they're freaks.
They're like these are, by all intents and purposes, just
You want to see a picture to solidify what you're saying right now? Just Google Evan Neal's combine photos, who's rookie from Alabama this year. I believe he's 6'6", 330. And you look at his photos and you wouldn't think that he weighs, over 280. So,
right.
And that's what they all look like now. So,
right. But that's exactly what my point is, Alex, is 100%, which is to say that gone are the days of a guy who's 330 pounds who can't move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Gone are the maulers.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're used to the old NFL where you had a 330 guy who was kind of like a blob on the field. And now a 330 pound offensive alignment is more of the norm. And these guys are moving like guys who are 280 pounds of years of old.
Yeah, it's just a different type of game, different, positions, or everyone's just a freak athlete now. And I think Stu even talked about it, right? He had a training company for 6 years. Because you see so many athletes now take what they're doing more serious at a more amateur level. So you get people, once they get good enough to move on, and good enough to move up to the NFL, they've been training like an NFL caliber athlete since
high school,
14.
High school, yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
It's just par for the course of kind of how youth athletics has been treated. I got serious into weightlifting like when I was 13, and and going to a smaller college where not everyone did that, you could tell a difference. I mean, between where I was at and where other people were at.
Right.
And I mean, that's at this like a smaller level, so I can only imagine what it's like, at Power Fives. But either way, I will say, yeah, the Broncos defense is good. But I don't think they're going to be making Mahomes look mediocre or anything.
I think they can make Mahomes look mediocre. Now, the question is whether or not that they can quash Andy Reid's offensive scheme. And I think that, like, in my opinion, that's the difference, right? So, for example, the benefit that the Chiefs have had is they have a stable, steady offensive coach in Andy Reid.
And an elite quarterback.
No. I'm not saying Mahomes is not an elite
come on, man.
No. I'm not saying.
Come on, Richie. Come on.
I am not saying Mahomes is not an elite quarterback. I'm saying that when you have an elite, consistent defensive coordinator, they can negate an elite offensive quarterback. But what they can't negate is an elite offensive coordinator, because they're basically playing chess against another guy that also knows how to play chess.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, the quarterback has to execute what the offensive coordinator wants to do. So
for sure, but a running game working, in my opinion, for what it's worth, has nothing to do with the offensive coordinator. It has almost everything to do with the defensive or the offensive line.
Yeah.
Right? Because an offensive line who is more physical than the defensive line enables you to move guys against their will. And that's really the premise, if you will, of an offensive running game, which is, are you more physical than the other team on the opposite side of you? And Andy Reid, typically speaking, I mean, with rare exceptions, but let's be real, he's a pass-first offensive coordinator who is, dare I say, genius at the offensive passing game overall. And he's been able to put forth offensive schemes that have been able to adjust and adapt and succeed at the NFL level, regardless of his defensive opponent. Now, on the flip side of that is that he has truly struggled against teams that have been able to completely stifle his passing game.
Yeah, but I don't see Denver doing that. So
no. Well, we have done that. No,
nobody's stopping Travis Kelce. I don't care what you try to tell me. That's not happening. Nobody's been able to do it up to this point. Kelce's going to get his. Surtain, certainly excellent corner. Will definitely be shutting down whoever he's covering, but he's not going to be covering Travis Kelce.
No, so what you're talking about is safety play. And Stuart has stepped away from the pod here, and I would really appreciate his feedback actually on this, given his lockdown ability of a guy like.
Wait, hold on one second. No, hey guys, I wanted to say thank you. I apologize. I got a buddy on the phone, and it's but I thank you so much for letting me come on. Anytime I have my podcast on, please come on, guys. And this was great conversation, guys. I appreciate it very much.
Stuart, I just want some of your feedback on a guy like Travis Kelce. He is a unique tight end at the NFL level. Do you have any feedback on him?
Not enough right now. I'm just in between the conversation, and I apologize.
I appreciate it. So, Stuart, hit me up on Twitter. I'd love to keep in touch. Your wife and I are from very close proximity from one another. Reach out, and if you're ever up in this area, I will have a place for you to stay.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Nice to meet you, man.
Go AFC West, baby.
So that was Stuart, an absolute legend within Raiders Nation, and with regards to just generally speaking, I think
what he did against the Broncos last year.
No, but it's not even against the Broncos. It's that look at him against elite pass catchers. So he locked down Antonio Gonzalez.
Who?
Gonzalez.
Who are you talking about?
Stewart. He's just on the show.
Oh, yeah. No.
And,
I'm talking about Travis Kelce versus the Broncos.
Right, but that's my point. Is so that the question is that if we're talking cornerbacks versus receivers, then the true test is Kelce versus the Broncos safeties.
Mm-hmm.
Because Stewart has all but proven that safeties are the tight end killers of NFL teams, right?
True.
And they seem to be the ones that are either stopping or not stopping tight ends rather at the NFL level. And in my opinion, when you look at Kelce, where that really comes down to is what is Justin Simmons' ability to read Kelce's routes and stop him? And I think he's about a 70-30 rule where he's 70% great and then 30% awful. And I think the problem with Kelce is that when the opposing team has a 30% awful,
he's going to take full advantage of that.
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm not even naive. He is a safety killer, right, at the NFL level.
Yeah, I mean, last year with Justin Simmons on the field, 4 catches, 4 targets, only 34 yards, but a touchdown. So
no, but look at the execution. He had a touchdown.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's that particular production that concerns me with the Chiefs. And I have been long-standing calling out that, in my opinion, this season is not the season where the Broncos are going to turn things around against the Chiefs. I don't believe we have done enough to stop the Chiefs. And I think we're going to see, another, I don't think Kelce's going to have the same type of game you're used to seeing. But I think you're going to see key production moments where he produces. And what I mean by that is he might have like 40 yards, but he'll have a touchdown.
Yeah.
He might have 30 yards, but he'll have 2 touchdowns. And I think that's going to be the thing that'll kill the Broncos in this game.
I would agree with that. Like I said, I expect Surtain to be blanketing whoever he's covering, which will probably be Juju. Biggest component.
Juju will have 0 catches.
Yeah. Biggest component will be.
Let's be honest here. I'm being honest about Surtain, about Kelce, right? We need you to also be honest about Surtain. He is an elite NFL cornerback.
Yeah.
Within the top 3 to 5 of the NFL.
I don't know if Juju will have no catches, but he's not going to be a relevant factor in wins.
No.
But I mean, the biggest thing is going to be watching who else is available. Because if you have, I'm looking at, Tony was a limited participant. I think Hardman's limited, but maybe be able to play. Like I said, against the Bengals, that was, I think, a factor in how they were at times able to move the ball. So I think if you have one of those other guys out there, that is going to open up more opportunities. But at the end of the day, I'm going to call a spade a spade. Patrick Surtain II is very much the real deal. and is definitely going to be. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if you don't really see KC go his side, and I think a lot of teams have been doing that as of late. But I just don't. I don't see a full contain on KC's offense such that the limited amount of production and scoring that the Broncos offense does, allows them to win this game.
What are you saying? The Broncos offense is not good?
I'm just saying. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying it's not great. I mean, hey, you guys beat the 49ers, so you got that.
Look, a sundial is right at least once a year.
True. But yeah, I mean, I just think that it's going to get to a point. I mean, KC's obviously a proven offensive, just a proven offensive scheme. They regardless of what the defense gives them, figure out a way to put points on the board. I mean, these AFC West, interdivision matchups are always close to some degree, just because of the familiarity with its squads, the familiarity with the schemes, and just the fact that it's like a rivalry game you play twice a year. But it's going to get to a point where KC is just they're going to be able to be putting points on the board where, Russell Wilson and the Denver offense is going to be, fighting for a field goal. And I think, I don't think they're going to be putting 40 points on the board, but I just don't see how Denver's defense is going to be able to contain KC enough to where the offense scoring 9 points is a win.
No, I mean, I think it's unrealistic for the Broncos to hold KC to 10 points.
I mean,
now,
it's possible. But
now, in fairness, the Broncos defense over the last 5 years, if as a KC fan, if you're going to be honest, has had KC's number.
Yeah, but they also haven't won. So
no. I'm not saying they haven't won. I'm saying that the Broncos defense has had KC's number.
Yeah, but at the same time, if they haven't won, I know at one point on this show I said all the things that weren't out the last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs, which included some crazy stuff when you think about it. But Denver's always had a solid defense, always been known to be a defensive heavy team. But
I'm willing to come in and play linebacker.
Huh? But to me that also says when a crucial key moment comes up where you need the defense to get a stop because of the amount of time that they're on the field, because of the amount of time the offense is not chewing game clock and putting a long drive together, at some point they're not going to be able to make the stop they need.
No, and that seems to have been what the issue with the Broncos have been all season long.
Yeah, well, yeah,
right.
I mean, obviously,
which is, I mean, let's be real. Is that when you hold your opponent to sub 15 points a game, almost 9 times out of 10 you're winning. You know what I mean? And yet the Broncos have lost most of those games. And what that goes to show is that the defensive coordinator is killing it.
Mm-hmm.
And the offensive side of the ball is piss poor, and that's being generous to say from an offensive side of the ball. So at that point there, you then need to adapt offensively, and we're not. And so, in my opinion, that's where Andy Reid excels, right? Where Andy Reid says, this isn't working, make it go away. And I think look, I mean, I think that shows a tremendous amount of discipline from an offensive coordinator and an offensive head coach to say, hey, this defense that we're going up against is killing our run game. Who cares? Just go. And scheming to just win the game. I think that Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, in conjunction with one another, have done a tremendous job with the Chiefs over the last 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah, I think you got to give the credit all to Reid, but
yeah.
Look,
I'm trying to be kind in the way that I'm assessing this, but I mean, I think most of it goes to Reid, and I think that that's also one of the reasons why Eric Bieniemy has not got a head coaching job.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But all of that aside, I think that you have an offensive coach who is in the upper echelon of the NFL.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, I think that's, I don't care who you are. You could be a Broncos fan or a Chiefs fan. I don't care who you are. He is elite. And he's also shown the ability.
There's like a story, well, not a story, but kind of just like a running thing. You know, Reid has, for whoever they play that week, he comes in Monday, Tuesday, depending on their schedule, but he has like 5 plays he physically, created for this team. So, he's constantly evolving his offense and his offensive approach. And, like you said, he's playing chess out there. But yeah, I'm not trying to, I don't see how KC doesn't win this game, especially coming off of a tough loss to Cincinnati. I think they're going to come out all cylinders firing, and we'll you got the hiccups again, but they're gonna put some points on the board.
Well, I agree, and I think that ultimately KC does win this game, and I actually think that KC has a legitimate opportunity to yet again sweep my Denver Broncos. It pains me, right here to say that out loud, but the Broncos have not done enough offensively to develop an offensive identity this particular season. I think a lot of that has to do with only focusing on the quarterback and ignoring the fact that their offensive line needed work. And I think that's a different episode in and of itself.
Oh yeah, we could do a whole 2-hour episode on that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that our Raiders safety there can really actually add some true insight into that as well.
Absolutely,
we had on the show. If we can give credit where credit's due, fantastic insight. I love having former players on the podcast. And
yeah, it was awesome. It's totally random.
I know it is. And I love the fact that he just joined just because he wanted to say something, which really says a lot about our show and what we bring to the table as a podcast. And with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a fantastic episode 33 of the Wild Wild West podcast. We will continue to bring you fantastic content of the AFC West and other elements in terms of how we stack up against each other, things like scheme, teams, etc. And we are going to continue to do that over the course of both this season and throughout the offseason. And with that in mind, my name is RichiRichEh of the MHR Team Network. This is Alec Givens of the Arrowhead Attic. And we obviously had Coach Defense and Captain Jack Rackham, who both had other commitments shortly after this podcast. If you have any other comments, questions, likes, etc., please click those thumbs up after the video. And until next week, this is the Wild Wild West, where the West Side is the best side. We will see you next week.